At his son's birthday party, Fu Yunshin's widowed sister-in-law, heavily pregnant, burst in. "Yunshin, if you don't want me and the baby, I'll die." Sobbing, she finished her words and turned to run away. Fu Yunshin paused, about to step forward, but instinctively looked at me. With a calm demeanor under everyone's shocked gaze, I said lightly, "Go ahead, bring back an ice cream for the kid when you return." No one noticed the tight grip of my fist under the tablecloth. In my previous life, I held on to Fu Yun deeply, refusing to let him go. As a result, my widowed sister-in-law, heavily pregnant, ran out and was hit by a car, resulting in a tragic double death. Fu Yun deeply hated me, and while I was asleep, he tied me up and stepped on me. Qian didn't even want a title, only asking that her child not be a bastard, yet you still drove her to her death. Now that she's dead, what right do you have to live? I begged desperately, but he wouldn't listen at all. He flayed my skin and made 18 human skin lanterns out of it, hanging them at my widowed sister-in-law's grave, forcing me to atone for my sins day and night. I opened my eyes and found myself back at my son's birthday party. The entire roomful of guests turned to look at me. Fu Yun deeply looked stunned, as if he hadn't understood what I said. I smiled faintly and spoke again. "Go ahead." Fu Yunshin's eyes lit up, and he left directly. Among those present were many parents of the children's playmates, who were now whispering to each other, "Tisk tsk, such magnanimity, no wonder she can be the dean's wife. Even when the other woman is riding you, you can still smile and act like a rocking horse." I clenched my fists so hard that my nails dug into my palms, and only when the pain hit did I manage to calm my emotions. Pretending nothing had happened, I invited everyone to cut the birthday cake together. But everyone exchanged glances, found a random excuse, grabbed their kids, and left in a hurry. In an instant, the banquet was left with only my son and me. Surrounded by chaos, my son stood in front of the cake with a collapsed corner, clutching the transformer that Fu Yundeep had given him, and whispered, "Will Daddy come back?" I crouched down, hugging my son tightly, and tears burst out. "Mom is here. Mom will always be here." In his previous life, Fu Yun deeply loved his widowed sister-in-law. By Qian, I casually found an excuse to have her move out of my house, and Fu Yun said nothing at the time. It wasn't until Bai Qian died in a car accident, leaving a pregnant woman and her unborn child, that Fu Yun went mad, flaying me alive and planning to skin the child to make a rattle, which he would burn for Bai Qian's unborn baby. I was a bloody mess, begging him to spare the child, but his eyes were bloodshot as he sneered, "You're nothing but a stand-in for Qian. Not even worth her little toe. What makes your child even comparable to Qian's?" Only then did I realize how ridiculous my reluctance had been all these years. In this lifetime, I will never make the same mistake again. After instructing the servant to clean up, I called my father, whom I hadn't contacted in years. I expected to be mocked by my father, but instead, he said in a low voice, "I'll have my assistant come to pick you up right away," despite his best efforts to hide it. I could hear his voice trembling with excitement. Hanging up the phone, it dawned on me that my father, who always paid attention to details, hadn't even asked for the address. I suddenly realized, my heart aching, it turns out he had always been paying attention to me. Seeing that it was about time, I first placed my luggage in the living room and went out to check if people had arrived. Just a short distance out, I saw Fu Yunshin and Bai Qian embracing. Both of them were startled to see me. And Bai Qian, like a frightened rabbit, hid behind Fu Yundeep. Fu Yundeep's brow furrowed instantly as he shielded Bai Qian and growled at me, "I knew it, you were faking it all along. How far do you intend to push Qian?" The pain of having my skin peeled off alive hit me all at once, and I trembled uncontrollably. I clenched my teeth tightly, struggling to suppress my fear of Fu Shen, and explained in a trembling voice, "No, it's just that." Unexpectedly, Bai Qian suddenly lunged over and grabbed my arm tightly. "I'm sorry, Lin Yu. I just wanted to give the child a name. I really don't care about myself." Her fingertips dug into my flesh, like the pain of a dagger piercing the skin. I yanked my arm back abruptly, but Bai Qian is pregnant after all, so I subconsciously eased the force, but Bai Qian gave me a venomous look and fell to the ground with a piercing scream. Fu Yunshin's eyes turned bloodshot in an instant, veins bulging on his forehead as he stepped forward and viciously grabbed my throat. "How dare you hurt Qian?" A suffocating sensation enveloped me, my face turning red as I frantically slapped at Fu Yunshin's hand, but all was in vain. In the struggle, my right shoulder slipped out of my shirt, his gaze fell on my shoulder, his expression froze, and he finally let go. I collapsed to the ground like a heap of mud, gasping for breath, my peripheral vision catching the scar on my shoulder. Back then, he was still a surgeon, and someone came to cause trouble at the hospital. In the chaos, I was stabbed trying to save him, the wound deep enough to see the bone. He held me and wept bitterly, as if he were the one who was hurt. I couldn't help but smile wryly. In my previous life, when he flayed my skin, he merely said coldly as he reached my right shoulder, "This scar makes it impossible to make a lantern." And now, Fu Yun deeply glared down at me with a fierce expression. "If you dare hurt Chan Chan again, don't blame me for disregarding our years of affection." With that, he scooped Bai Chan Chan into his arms and strode away without looking back. Bai Chan Chan glanced back at me, a smug look on her face. I returned home in disarray, tidying up. Within moments, my father's personal assistant arrived. As I was about to leave with the sleeping child in my arms, Fu Yunshan called, "Sign the divorce agreement in the study. The child I have with Chan Chan can't be a bastard." "If you don't sign, I'll sign," I interrupted him. How could I possibly refuse something I've been longing for? He paused, his tone softening considerably. "Don't worry, I know you have nowhere to go. I won't abandon you and your child. You can still stay here, and I'll come by once a week." Just as I was about to hang up, I heard Bai Chan Chan's delicate voice call out Yunshan's name, and Fu Yunshan hung up first. I went straight to the study, saw the divorce agreement on the desk, and signed it without hesitation. As I returned home, my father's eyes betrayed his joy, though he simply said, "Your room has always been kept ready," yet the room's furnishings remained unchanged for 10 years, as if I had just stepped out for a moment. I was instantly overwhelmed with tears. My father was a top-tier billionaire and rarely came home. My mother suffered from severe depression and became a vegetable after a failed suicide attempt. I called my father, and he coldly replied, "I see." I hated his coldness, left home with my mother, and completely cut off contact with him. I didn't even notify him about my wedding. Fu Yunshan still doesn't know who my father is. When my son woke up, I patiently explained the situation to him. I thought he would cry and make a fuss, but to my surprise, he hugged me and said, "Mom, I'll go wherever you go. I want you to smile every day and stop crying under the blanket." I couldn't help but tear up. 3. After all, my son is still a child, and it's natural for him to feel a bit sad leaving his familiar home. To cheer up my son, the next day I took him to the amusement park he had been looking forward to for so long. To my utter surprise, as soon as we entered the amusement park, I looked up and saw Fu Yun and Bai Chan Chan taking wedding photos on the carousel. "Dad," my son's eyes lit up when he saw Fu Yun, and he ran over eagerly. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly followed. The son hugged Fu Yunshan's leg tightly, his face full of joy. "So Dad was waiting for us here." Fu Yunshan instinctively pushed his son away and looked nervously at Bai Chan Chan. Bai Chan Chan bit her lip tightly, tears falling onto her pure white wedding dress, looking utterly vulnerable. Fu Yunshan erupted in anger, shouting furiously at me as I approached. "No wonder you agreed so readily last night. You had already planned it all along, to bring your son here and chase after me. You really are despicable." The son was pushed aside, standing there helplessly, looking at Fu Yun deeply, wanting to cry but not daring to, tears welling up in his eyes. He kept apologizing. "Dad, I'm sorry. Dad, I'm sorry." My heart ached instantly. In a previous life, Fu Yun's older brother died in a car accident, and Bai Chan Chan, who was traumatized, lost her memory, always mistaking Fu Yun for his brother. Fu Yunshan carefully took her in and took good care of her at home. Her son was playing with toy cars at home when she let out a piercing scream, saying she remembered the car accident every time she saw a car. Fu Yunshan turned around and threw all his son's toy cars away. However, she felt no discomfort when Fu Yunshan drove her around on regular days. When her son's painting was covered in red, she burst into tears, saying it looked like blood. Fu Yunshan threw away her son's paintbrushes and forbade him from painting. Seeing his belongings dwindle, the son began to fear that Fu Yunshan would throw him away too. I comforted him, "Dad won't hurt you," until Fu Yunshan ruthlessly turned his son into a human skin rattle. Only then did I realize how much I had underestimated his devotion to Bai Chan Chan. "I just brought my son here to play." "I didn't know you were here." I stepped forward to shield my son, my gaze falling on their wedding gowns, and I instinctively fell silent. It couldn't have been a spur-of-the-moment decision to take wedding photos. They had planned it all along. "Stop playing these backward-looking tricks. There aren't that many coincidences in the world. I've already agreed to visit you once a week in the future. What more do you want?" Fu Yunshan chuckled. looking as if he had long seen through me. Bai Qianqian struggled to get off the carousel, stumbled over to Fu Yunshan, grabbed the corner of his shirt, and wept like a pear tree in full bloom. Yunshan, don't be angry about my affairs, we don't have to take these wedding photos. After saying that, she crouched down again and told her son, Xiaojia, Daddy will be with you soon. She leaned in and whispered something to her son, who suddenly pushed Bai Qianqian to the ground and cried out loudly, You're a bad person, kill the bad person. Bai Qianqian fell to the ground, clutching her stomach tightly, groaning in pain, her gaze at me as venomous as poison. Seeing this, people around gradually gathered, even a pregnant woman. Are you even human? You're worse than an animal. Scum, your mother should have flushed you down the toilet back then. There are bratty kids because there are bratty parents, they all deserve to die. Fu Yunshan was completely enraged, pushing me away with one hand and grabbing his son by the collar. Lifting him up and heading towards the central musical fountain, the son was so terrified that he cried and screamed, Mommy, save me, Mommy, save me. I slammed into the railing beside me, my arm scraping against a wire and leaving a large, bloody gash. At that moment, I felt no pain at all, and I lunged forward frantically to save my son, but Fu Yunshan was too strong, and I couldn't save him. I had no choice but to kneel on the ground, clutching his trouser leg and begging, Yunshan. He's your son, please, don't hurt him, we'll leave, we'll go far away right now. I only beg that he can spare my son. Considering Bai Qianqian wasn't too badly hurt, Fu Yunshan ignored my pleas and lifted my son high above the fountain, coldly saying, Jiang Linyue, if you can't discipline your son, I have plenty of ways to help you with that. With that, he suddenly slammed him down forcefully, plop. The son was brutally thrown into the pool, where the broken mosaic at the bottom cut his skin, instantly turning the water red. Cheers erupted around the scene, satisfying. Bratty kids deserve to be taught a lesson, it's so satisfying. It even cleared my ducts, so refreshing. Fu Yunshan helped Bai Qianqian, gracefully leaving amidst cheers. I rescued the child and hurried to the hospital. My son's right leg was fractured, and he was covered in injuries. He bit his lip and didn't cry, only speaking after his wounds were treated. Mom, I don't think I'm wrong. Aunt Bai said that as long as it's something I love, she'll make Dad throw it away. Now, the thing I love most is you, and she wants Dad to kill you. Mom, I have to protect you. Tears instantly poured out, and I pulled my son into my arms. You're right, you're not wrong. When I got home, I found out that some busybody had posted the incident at the playground online. It was all about naughty kids getting their comeuppance, which was very satisfying. Some even started digging into the son's personal information. Fortunately, the father quickly handled it, and it didn't cause any further trouble. I felt a wave of fear. In the following days, while taking care of my son, I started to get busy. This was because my father was hosting a banquet to formally introduce me to everyone. The banquet was held on the private yacht my father had gifted me. On the day of the banquet, after settling my son, I walked onto the deck in my $1,000,000 couture, only to see Bai Qianqian frowning at me. Today, with a full house of guests, I didn't want to deal with her and turned to leave, but I didn't expect her to chase after me, dropping her usual fragility and revealing her true self. Mocking, just a piece of dirt everyone can trample on. Do you really think wearing a 100 yuan knockoff couture will make you a phoenix? My silence only fueled her arrogance, and she leaned in, speaking venomously. How shameless of you, watching all those intimate videos of me and Yunshan, yet still refusing to leave. You think Yunshan loves me so much, would he kill your son for me? I was so furious that my whole body trembled, and I slapped her across the face. To my surprise, she covered her swollen cheek with a look of triumph. My heart skipped a beat. Jiang, Lin, you, indeed. Fu Yunshan's furious voice echoed from not far away. He strode forward, his arm veins bulging, and he tightly gripped my neck, pushing half my body over the railing. Catching sight of the shark nearby, I was terrified and clung tightly to his arm. My father is Jiang Zhen. If you kill me, he will never let you off. Before Fu Yunshan could speak, a burst of laughter erupted on the deck. A gold digger trying to hook a rich guy, yet pretending to be a wealthy young lady. Don't you know whose territory this is today? This is the Jiang family. Chairman Jiang is notoriously eccentric. Impersonating the Jiang family's daughter will get you thrown into the sea. Everyone knows Chairman Jiang is a doting father. Someone once said something harsh to his daughter and was beaten so badly they couldn't get out of bed for half a month. For someone like you, impersonating his daughter and ruining her party, you might not even get a proper burial. Fu Yunshan snorted coldly. Do you think I'm a fool? After all these years, do you think I wouldn't know? With that, he pushed me away forcefully. I widened my eyes, desperately gripping his arm, feeling utter despair. What are you doing? A thunderous voice rang out. 5. Everyone jolted and turned toward their father in unison. The latter looked at everyone with an air of authority without any need for anger. The head of the Jiang family has always had a bad temper, which is common knowledge. They absolutely dare not upset him at this critical moment. Just as I was about to speak, Bai Qianqian gave a subtle signal to the burly man beside her. A pair of strong hands clamped over my mouth, and I was silently pushed into a blind spot next to me, although Fu Yunshan felt it was inappropriate. He decided it was better to avoid unnecessary trouble and did not intervene. What are you doing? The father spoke again, asking. Bai Qianqian smiled, with a hint of flattery, and said to her father, Hello, Uncle Jiang. Nothing much. We just got a bit bored inside and came out here to get some fresh air. The father frowned slightly, staring at their faces and asked, Have you seen my daughter? She's wearing a purple dress. Bai Qianqian and Fu Yunshan exchanged a glance, both seeing the shock in each other's eyes. I'm here. My mouth was tightly covered, and I couldn't speak. Father scanned the room, frowned, and took out his phone to call me. A familiar ringtone echoed by the railing. Father's anger flared instantly, and he strode over. Picking up the phone from the ground, he roared furiously at Fu Yunshan and Bai Qianqian. Where is the owner of this phone? The father glared at the two, got no response, and walked over directly. The person who had been holding me down suddenly lost his nerve and ran off in another direction. At this point, my father finally saw the disheveled me, my heart finally settled, and I blacked out completely. Fu Yunshan looked at his furious father, still trying to justify himself. Jiang Linyue was in the wrong first, but his father wouldn't tolerate any defense for me, narrowing his eyes and staring intently at him. At that moment, a crowd gathered, and Bai Qianqian's father, Dean Bai, rushed over and slapped her hard across the face. She was stunned, clutching her swollen cheek in disbelief, staring at her father. From childhood to adulthood, her father had never laid a hand on her. Never in her wildest dreams did she expect him to slap her in front of everyone. Dad, she cried out in grievance, tears streaming down her face. Unexpectedly, the Baidin glared at her and angrily interrupted, Shut up. The Baidin ignored Fu Yunshan completely and turned to my father, saying, Chairman Jiang, my daughter has recently lost her husband and is not in a good mental state. Please allow me to take her home first. Fu Yunshan clenched his fists tightly, watching helplessly as Bai Qianqian was taken away. At that moment, he felt a chill in his heart. He turned his head and only then noticed that my father was squinting at him. Fu Yunshan's heart skipped a beat. He had never imagined that I was the daughter of the Jiang family. The Jiang family is the top tycoon in the Beijing circle. Even the Bai family's hospital relies on Jiang family investments. No wonder the Bai hospital director is eager to distance himself. Didn't they say the Jiang family's daughter just returned from studying abroad? How did it turn into Jiang Linyue? Fu Yunshan was troubled by my father's gaze. A chill ran straight from his heels to the back of his head, making his scalp tingle. Luckily, his father said nothing, just saw his one eye. Deeply fainted. I turned to leave, when Fu Yun deep hesitant to follow up. A handsome man came along. Man walked over and whispered, You have a good check how your brother died. Suddenly, it was as if something exploded in Fu Yunshan's mind. He grabbed the man's collar tightly and roared, What exactly do you mean by that? The man showed no fear, his lips curling into a smile, but his eyes were as cold as ice. Go find out for yourself. Once you do, you'll understand what I mean. Fu Yunshan no longer lingered and turned to leave. He still couldn't resist and had someone investigate the cause of his brother's death. However, to his surprise, his brother did not die in a car accident. He clenched his phone tightly, staring at the information sent by the other party, his eyes reddening. He and his brother were twins, but their personalities were worlds apart. From a young age, his brother was very obedient, while he was quite mischievous. Nonetheless, this did not affect their close bond. His brother's last words were to take care of his sister-in-law and parents. If the information he has now is real, he can't even imagine the extent of the suffering his brother endured before his death. He returned to his parents' home like a zombie. To his surprise, Bai Qianqian was also there, sitting on the living room sofa, not knowing what they were talking about. Bai Qianqian kept wiping away tears and sobbing quietly as he appeared. They stopped their conversation abruptly and all turned to look at him. Fu Yunshan felt an eerie sensation welling up inside him, yet, he suddenly lost the desire to confront them. What's the point? My brother will never come back. His heart ached as if it were being stabbed, pain so intense it felt like he was dying. With a stern face, he slammed the documents onto the table and turned to leave. Bai Qianqian, stunned, picked up the documents he had dropped, her eyes widening and her body trembling uncontrollably. She tossed the documents aside and ran out the door as fast as she could. Fu Yunshan, in a daze, somehow found himself back at the place where we once lived together. The furnishings inside were exactly the same as before, as if nothing had changed, except that everywhere was covered in a layer of dust. His heart felt as if it had been ripped out, leaving him breathless with pain. He sat blankly at his desk, only to discover a diary I had written in the drawer. Acting on impulse, he opened the diary and carefully read through each page. May 20th, Bai Qianqian sent me another video. Yunshan looks so gentle in it. He used to treat me like that at the beginning of our relationship, but when did everything change? On May 30th, Bai Qianqian sent me a photo of Yunshan sleeping in bed. I knew she was trying to tell me that Yunshan was hers, but I couldn't accept it. I can't live without him, I can't bear to let go. My diary pages flipped through his hands, and as he read, tears dripped onto the paper, until he turned to a page. His eyes suddenly widened, his hands tightly gripping the diary, his lips trembling uncontrollably. On July 20th, Bai Qianqian gloated as she told me how Yunshan pushed her down and passionately loved her, even sending me photos of them naked in bed. The last word was brutally stabbed into the paper, leaving a hole. There were no more diary entries after that. Bai Qianqian had always been pretending to have lost her memory. I knew all these things, yet I pretended not to, tolerating everything about him, but he kept hurting me over and over again. At this thought, he wished he could slap himself. Holding this diary, a glimmer of hope arose within him. Maybe he still has a chance to ask for my forgiveness. I love him so much that I would definitely forgive him. Realizing this, he felt much better. Yunshan. In his hazy state, he thought he heard my voice, and he looked up suddenly, his face full of joy. Bai Qianqian stood timidly not far away, avoiding his gaze, and she tried to approach him. Fu Yunshan looked at her, and she had always been this way, endearing and lovable, but he had never imagined that beneath her delicate exterior lay a heart as venomous as a viper's. 7. He looked at her coldly, his eyes showing no emotion. Bai Qianqian was crying like a pear tree in the rain. Yunshan. Don't misunderstand, the car accident was really just an accident, Yunshuo. Fu Yunshan felt a sharp pain in his heart and an inexplicable anger flared up. He lunged forward, gripping Bai Qianqian's neck tightly, his veins bulging as he glared, wanting nothing more than to tear her apart. You're not worthy to mention that name. Why did you kill him? He never expected that his brother was actually killed by Bai Qianqian, just as Bai Qianqian was about to be strangled. He finally regained his senses and let go. Bai Qianqian burst into tears. Yunshan, I had no choice, I loved the wrong person, the one I loved from the beginning was you. Fu Yunshan widened his eyes, staring at her in disbelief. It turned out that Bai Qianqian had fallen for Fu Yunshan at first sight during college. Little did she know that by a twist of fate, she met Fu Yunche, mistaking him for the wrong person. After marrying Fu Yunche, she realized her mistake upon seeing Fu Yunshan again. Isn't she just trying to correct her past mistakes? Fu Yunshan was stunned as he listened to everything she said, feeling a sudden blackness before his eyes, almost fainting. Just for this absurd reason, she had plotted against her brother, drugged herself, and played their entire family like a fiddle. He suddenly remembered his brother, who had sent him a message just before dying, asking him to take good care of his sister-in-law. Then I thought of myself, who received harassing videos and photos every day. In an instant, his heart felt like it was being torn apart, pain overwhelming him. He threw down Bai Qianqian, who was like a heap of mud, and ran out the door. I have no idea what's happening with Fu Yunshan. As I woke up in the hospital, I saw Fu Yun deep with a scruffy beard. For a moment, I didn't recognize him. Seeing him, I instinctively took a step back to put some distance between us, then looked at him with guarded eyes. Fu Yun Deep was deeply hurt by my reaction, and he hid the pain in his eyes, tentatively reaching out to grab my hand. His eyes instantly welled up with tears. Lin Yu, I'm sorry, don't be afraid of me, okay, I won't hurt you anymore. I know I was wrong. I yanked my hand back abruptly, coldly staring at him. Please leave here, I never want to see you again. He seemed completely taken aback by my reaction, frozen in place. After several seconds, He finally came to his senses and pleaded desperately, Linue, please forgive me, I was deceived by Bai Qianqian. At this point, he suddenly clenched his teeth and said, it was all Bai Qianqian's scheme. Not only did she murder my brother, but she also sowed discord between us. If it weren't for her, our family could have lived happily together until old age. After saying this, he reverently took out my old diary and presented it to me. Linue, I had no idea he did so many things in front of you. She really deserves to die. Fu Yunshan's eyes burned with intense hatred. I took the diary and casually tossed it into the trash can beside me. Thank you for bringing over the trash I hadn't dealt with. Now, you can leave. Fu Yunshan stared at me wide-eyed, unwilling to give up, and rushed over to retrieve the diary from the trash can, but I stopped him, saying, trash picked up from the garbage is still trash, you. Fu Yunshan was deeply hurt and couldn't think of a retort, his face filled with sorrow. Do you really have to be so ruthless? Seeing him act so affectionately, I felt disgusted. Bai Qianqian may deserve to die, but what about you? Do you think you can just wash your hands of your own problems? Did she force you to hurt me over and over again? Fu Yunshan, none of it, it's all you, these were all your choices. It was never me who was heartless, it was you. My words struck his heart like a sledgehammer, crushing it to pieces. 8. He stood up, retrieved the diary from the trash, and clutched it tightly in his hand. Linue, no matter how much you hate me, I will still go for the compatibility test, hoping to donate my heart to you. With that, he turned and left. I watched his retreating figure, completely baffled. It wasn't until I saw Lu Yanji return from abroad that it all clicked. What exactly did you tell him? He said he wants to donate his heart to me. I'm just physically weak. Besides, I've been emotionally unstable lately, which led to physical exhaustion and fainting. What does that have to do with a heart surgery? Lu Yanji, however, shrugged indifferently. This idiot, I just casually told him that you have a heart problem and need surgery but can't find a suitable heart. And he immediately said he would go for a compatibility test. Don't look at me like that. I just wanted to see if his heart is black or red. How could someone be so despicable? He should be grateful it's a society governed by the rule of law. Otherwise, humph, I couldn't help but laugh at his words, and the gloom of this period was swept away. My heart felt like it had collapsed in one corner, instantly melting into a puddle. As the youngest son of the Lu group, Lu Yanji was spoiled rotten since childhood, unruly and wild, yet he always indulged me completely. I was tired of this arranged marriage feeling, never truly understanding him. It seems I've been neglecting him all along. Since that day, I haven't seen Fu Yun deep again. It's said that after discovering the truth about his brother's death, he became disoriented and could no longer perform surgery. The once renowned surgeon had mysteriously vanished, yet, I heard quite a few insider stories. My father plans to withdraw all his investments from the hospital. To please this financial backer, the hospital quickly removed Fu Yunshan from his position as president. Bai Qianqian was taken away by the police and detained on suspicion of murder. Everything had been peaceful during this period. To my surprise, I was attacked as soon as I stepped out of my house, and everything went black as I fainted. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself on the rooftop of a hospital. With Fu Yun deep by my side, he gazed at me affectionately, but a chill ran through my heart. There was an unmistakable madness in his eyes. Linue, you're awake. Do you remember this place? His eyes locked onto me without blinking. Of course I remember. On this rooftop, I kept teetering on the brink of death, and Fu Yun deeply pulled me back time and time again. That once deeply cherished love is now as insignificant as a chicken bone. It's tasteless to keep, yet a pity to discard. I tightly pressed my lips together, sweating profusely, and nodded slightly. I dare not speak carelessly, nor can I ignore her, for fear that any inadvertent remark might provoke him, leading to irreversible and terrible consequences. He probably still noticed the fear in my eyes, his expression one of deep sorrow. Linue, I have been reborn. I remember everything I did in my previous life. I'm sorry, I really. With that, he covered his face with his hands and wept bitterly, but soon his expression returned to normal, and he turned to pull out a black bag. Watching the object in the bag struggle incessantly, I realized it was alive, and a chill ran down my spine. But I never expected that inside was Bai Qianqian. Her mouth was taped shut, unable to speak, only able to emit broken, muffled sounds. Fu Yunshan leaned in close to me. Linue, I will kill everyone who has hurt you. With that, he walked over and tore the tape off Bai Qianqian's mouth. Bai Qianqian suddenly burst into a tirade. You coward, you're the one who cheated, yet you blame me for it. it was me who drugged you, but it was just a little something to spice things up. If you weren't interested in me, you could have just walked away. Bai Qianqian's words completely enraged him. Fu Yunshan, like a madman, grabbed the iron rod beside him and started beating her mercilessly. In just a few moments, Bai Qianqian fell silent. Fu Yunshan, still not satisfied, picked up Bai Qianqian's lifeless body and threw it downstairs. I watched him in terror, biting my lip to stifle any sound. He looked at me, covered in blood, his eyes filled with sorrow, a faint smile on his lips, yet tears streaming down his cheeks. Lin Yu, I'm leaving now, thank you for coming to see me off. With no more regrets, he leaped down. It was Lu Yanji who found me on the rooftop. The moment he saw me, he pulled me into a tight embrace. Only then did I realize that every time I wandered on the rooftop, he had been watching me from a distance. Even without Fu Yundeep, Lu Yanji would have saved me from the clutches of death. Turns out, someone has always loved me. Story 2. My boyfriend left me to die in the fire to save his moonlight girl. After being consumed by the fire, I was reborn back to the day he proposed to me. In the clamor of the crowd, I rejected him. I walked towards the lonely young man in the crowd. He tightly held my hand, his voice trembling. Didn't you say you would marry me when we grew up? 1. Say yes to him, say yes to him. When I opened my eyes, Jiang Beiyan holding a big bouquet of roses, smiling at me, my mind was filled with the memory of being burned alive. I saw Jiang Beiyan firmly taking his moonlight girl, Senji, in his arms. He left without looking back, not even giving me a glance. In despair, I prayed to heaven, if I were given another chance, I would definitely not choose him. I would even try to stay as far away from him as possible. Suddenly, a voice said, "Are you sure?" I was absolutely certain. Yes, I didn't expect that. I really went back to the day when Jiang Beiyan proposed to me. 2. Myself and Jiang Beiyan have been childhood friends since we were young, and I liked him, which everyone knew. At the beginning of the 3rd year of high school, he proposed to me after evening class. That day, I thought we were finally in love and had broken through that barrier. Later, I found out that his proposal was just a way for him to vent his anger towards Senji. Even after entering university, and even after graduating from university, he still kept tangle with Senji. In every choice between 2 options, I was always the one who was abandoned. I finally realized, filed for divorce, but ended up encountering Senji coming to provoke me. Until the fire happened, I didn't wait for the rescue, but instead saw Jiang Beiyan holding Senji and walking away without looking back. At that moment, my heart completely died. So this time, in the midst of the clamor, I refused him. The lively playground fell silent all of a sudden. It's right, in the previous life, I was always Jiang Beiyan's follower, following him around, caring about him, bringing him breakfast every day, giving him water during PE class, preparing stationery for him, organizing his test papers, and waiting for him to go home after evening study. Anyone can see that I like him. Jiang Beiyan's face immediately turned dark. Wening, say that again. I looked at him and laughed coldly. Say it 100 times, I will still say the same thing. Jiang Beiyan, I don't want to be your girlfriend, and I don't like you. I'm in my 3rd year of high school, and I just want to focus on studying. After saying that, the whole crowd gasped in shock. Someone in the crowd whispered, I wouldn't believe that I'm the first emperor of Qin than believe Wening doesn't like Jiang Beiyan. Maybe it's a strategy to catch him, but being rejected in public. Jiang Beiyan's face was about to turn black. I didn't want to be the center of attention, so I turned to leave, but Jiang Beiyan grabbed my wrist, suppressing his anger. Wening, what are you crazy about? What was I thinking? Should I ask him about it? When Senji came to me, he said he would confess his feelings to me, though he had been upset at her place. After the 2 of them had a cold war, Senji then started flirting with a boy from his class, which made Jiang Beiyan confess to me immediately, because he was sure that I liked him and would not refuse him. He wanted Senji to back down, so he used my feelings. I looked down at my reddening wrist, pried his fingers off one by one, and pointed at the person at the back of the crowd. You said you like her, so why are the 2 of you fighting, using me as a sacrifice? Am I supposed to be the fool? 3. Jiang Beiyan was stunned on the spot. He looked at Senji's back as she left, then turned to look at me with a warning tone. Wening, have you had enough? Why involve others in our business? Am I the one causing trouble? This posture of his indeed confirmed the authenticity of the matter. I pulled his hand away and looked at him, speaking slowly and clearly. Jiang Beiyan, do you not understand what people say? I told you, I don't like you. He laughed coldly. If you don't like me, then who else do you like? After 17 years of relationship, he had enough confidence to believe that I couldn't be without him, but I had just gotten back to my senior year, and I only wanted to live for myself. I approached the boy behind Jiang Beiyan, who looked lonely. That was the top student. Shen Qingxi. I stood beside him and said to Jiang Beiyan, I like studying, I want to get into Tsinghua. Then I turned to Shen Qingxi and said, genius student, I might need to ask you for help often from now on, for, after rejecting Jiang Beiyan, we fell into a cold war. Everyone was guessing that I would go to him within a day, and even set a bet. I just smiled. I also placed a bet, forever, no way. Is Wenning taking the wrong medicine? Whispering, Jiang Beiyan is already angry. Wenning didn't bring him breakfast, and he's already thrown several tantrums during the morning study session. This has nothing to do with me. I just want to study now. I only hope he doesn't come to bother me again. Actually, my grades were good in high school, but after I was with Jiang Beiyan in senior year, I eventually followed his idea and stayed to study here. Later, I found out that it was because Tsinji was also here. He did it on purpose. When I opened my backpack, I realized that there was a complete set of stationery I had prepared for Jiang Beiyan inside. When I took it out, I heard Jiang Beiyan's deskmate say, I told you so, she won't last an afternoon. Jiang Beiyan looked proud and seemed to be waiting for me to personally present it to him. I just took everything out. I turned around and gave it to my deskmate Shen Qingxi. Scholar, I'm bribing you in advance. There will be a lot of things I need to ask you later. Actually, in the previous life, my interactions with Shen Qingxi weren't very much. He seemed to always be studying. I occasionally asked him some questions. However, since I was sure I could easily get into a local school, I didn't try hard afterwards. But I seem to remember that he asked me where I wanted to apply. At that time, my heart and eyes were full of Jiang Beiyan, so I pointed in Jiang Beiyan's direction and said, where he goes, I go. Shen Qingxi didn't say much more. Now, I brought these stationery. And he looked at me. His cold eyes carried some curiosity. I smiled confidently. It's impolite. If you don't like it, I'll throw it away. Upon hearing the word throw away, Jiang Beiyan's face turned very grim. He even kicked the front leg of the desk heavily, but to my surprise, Shen Qingxi said thank you and took it. 5. After deciding to study hard and stay away from the two of them, I realized my level was still far from the target university. I also love the feeling of battling with math late into the night. It's so exhilarating. I love discussing different solutions to a problem with the top students. The feeling of sudden understanding. I never realized that a life not centered around Jiang Beiyan could be so interesting. Soon, the start of term ceremony for the third year of high school arrived. In my previous life, I was pushed onto the stage and urged to confess my feelings to Jiang Beiyan. What did I say? Oh, I said, a beautiful youth should have no regrets. If you like someone, go for it. I'm confident I can go to the same university as Jiang Beiyan. Why not use the remaining time to enjoy the beauty of student life? At that moment, the whole school was shocked, and even my parents were called in. Looking back now, I want to hit my past self for being so love-struck. This time, I quietly stay in the crowd, memorizing vocabulary, trying to stay unnoticed. However, during the free time, a girl in the class suddenly suggested, Wenning studied broadcasting and hosting, right? Why don't you represent the class and say a few words? Some people followed and echoed, haha, make her go up and confess to Jiang Beiyan in front of everyone. Embarrassing. Didn't she refuse Jiang Beiyan before? Now is she trying to seek reconciliation and express her feelings again? I guess she's too scared. Haha, yes. She's definitely too scared. So annoying. Still betting on herself without seeking reconciliation, yet she's still a dogged follower. I took a deep breath. The inevitable thing had finally come. They all wanted to see me fail, but I understand, because before I was always chasing Jiang Beiyan. For 17 years, I've been a sycophant. Even Jiang Beiyan thinks I'm just acting out of temper this time, but only I know how hard this rebirth has been. I turned my head and looked at Jiang Beiyan, who was not far behind me. Our eyes met. He was wearing his school uniform, looking confident and slightly raising his head, as if also waiting for me to approach him in front of everyone to confess my feelings, to make up for the embarrassment of a few days ago when I refused him. Out of the corner of my eye, I seemed to also see Shen Qingxi's gaze. For some reason, I suddenly felt a bit guilty. Encouraged by the teacher, I still stood up and walked step by step towards the podium. Behind me, there were hushed whispers. If Wenning doesn't confess to Jiang Beiyan today, I'll look down on her. It's really my Jiang brother. women can't be spoiled. Looking at the crowd below the stage, I adjusted the microphone and spoke confidently and gracefully. Respected teachers, dear classmates, good morning. I am Winning from Class 1, Grade 3, the fragrance of osmanthus in September, at the beginning of the third year of high school, carrying the hopes of teachers and mentors, bearing my own dreams. Facing the light of the college entrance examination, I solemnly swear, the sword's sharpness comes from grinding, the plum blossom's fragrance comes from the cold, 9 years of study to sharpen a sword, waiting for the day to challenge for the top. I will spare no effort, and not waste my youth. I hope all of you will persevere and strive for 1 year, letting your ideals set sail. What greeted me was the applause of the entire audience. In my previous life, after I said those confessions, I heard whistles, laughter, and groans. I finally changed the course of events, but I didn't expect that after the meeting, Jian Beiyan blocked me. Winning, let's talk. 6. There's nothing to talk about between us. I didn't even give him a single extra glance. I walked straight towards the classroom. Jian Beiyan caught up with me and grabbed my arm, pulling me to the side of the playground despite my resistance. What's wrong with you? He furrowed his brow and questioned me. I wasn't going to back down either. I shook off his hand and said, how many times do I have to tell you? I just want to study. After saying that, I wanted to leave. He raised his big hand and blocked me, his eyes full of disbelief. You study, but why don't you bring me breakfast? Why did you give me something to someone else? Why don't you wait for me to go home together at night? Why refuse? He didn't finish his last sentence. I finished it for him. Why can't I refuse you? Are you a Chinese yuan? He was so angry he clenched his molars hard to keep his composure. Yes, before, it was always him who rejected me. He was always in a superior position, only thinking about his own feelings. He enjoyed the favor I gave him, yet gave all his love to someone else, and for me, he just needed to give me a little sweet date, and I would be more than happy. I was really foolish before. I was so foolish that it seemed like all the men in the world had died except for him. After a moment of silence, Jian Beiyan finally said, Winning, you weren't like this before. I looked up at him and said, Jian Beiyan, I was blind before to like you. You can go with your Tsinji and be together. Don't buzz around me like a fly anymore. After saying that, I left. Behind me, Jian Beiyan growled, okay, Winning, don't regret it. 7. After the incident on the playground, every morning, Tsinji would go up 3 floors to bring Jian Beiyan breakfast. She would also prepare drinks for him during the break for the morning exercises. Even during the PE class that both of our classes had together, she would wipe the sweat off him and give him water while he was playing basketball. For a time, everyone was talking about the two of them being a couple, but Jianbei didn't deny it. But there were still people who came to ask me what I thought about it. I was struggling with the physics problem, and upon hearing it, I just said calmly, good, if you're locked in, don't come out to cause trouble anymore. I really couldn't figure it out, so I poked Shinqingzi with my pen, then I pushed the test paper over to him. I only wrote 1 step, I couldn't think of the rest. Shinqingzi just glanced at the question, and with his clearly defined knuckles, he picked up the pen beside him. I thought he was about to explain the problem to me, so I quickly moved closer with my notebook. I seemed to catch a fleeting smile on his lips. This problem, you need to use this formula. Let's start by analyzing the question. It must be said, Shinqingzi really is a top student, and such a major problem, when explained by him, becomes very easy to understand. A few words, and he sorted it out for me. I took out my notebook with the wrong questions. Can you check these for me? I understand them, but I still haven't found law. He took the notebook from my hand, his fingertips touching it. His hands were so cold, I quickly pulled back. He was focused and seriously looking at the questions I had copied down. I suddenly remembered the past. I was really stupid. The top student was my desk mate, and I only thought about dating. It's really shameful. Before he could speak, I moved closer to him again. Who knows? A basketball suddenly hit me. The next second, my nose was in severe pain, and warm liquid started to flow down. I didn't have time to see who was responsible, and I was supported by Jian Beiyan, who came over with a gust of wind. Lifting my head up, he quickly pulled out a piece of paper from his bag and put it on my nose. His tone was full of unexpressed urgency. Does it hurt? Then he pulled me towards the bathroom. I just pulled away from his hand and coldly looked at him. Jian Beiyan, are you sick? 8. I picked up the basketball by my feet and threw it at him forcefully. He didn't move, looking down at me, then at Shinqingzi next to me, and laughed coldly. Wening, Is your affection so short-lived? Short-lived. I was about to laugh from anger. In my previous life, I spent more than 20 years revolving around him. When we got married, he cried and vowed to be with me for all eternity, never letting me suffer. I believed in him again and again, and tolerated him again and again. It's because my entire life has involved him. I once naively thought that growing old with him was such a romantic thing, but I overestimated him and underestimated my own feelings. My heart suddenly felt a bit swollen and aching, but I still faced his gaze. Jiang Beiyan, everyone knows you're dating Sinji. Why bring me into it? Am I just a part of your play? Her voice wasn't too loud, but everyone in the classroom could hear it. A few people in the crowd laughed quietly, but Jiang Beiyan became flustered and tried to reach for my hand to explain. I'm not dating her. I pulled away and turned my body. Oh, you're stringing someone else along again. You're really a scumbag. I didn't. She did it on her own. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a bang at the door. Sinji's eyes were red as she stood there with a drink she was going to give to Jiang Beiyan lying on the ground by her feet. She wiped her eyes and ran away. I saw Jiang Beiyan clench his hands into fists. The next moment, he ran out after her. 9. After I sat down, Shinqingzi took out a wet wipe from her bag and handed it to me. Do you want to go to the bathroom? I shook my head. No thanks. There were some bloodstains on my pants. They had already dried, appearing as small dark red spots. I took it and carefully wiped it, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get it off. It was strange. I didn't think about anything at all, but my eyes felt unbearably sore, so I quickly lowered my head. Every time before, I was always the one who was left behind, but even with a second chance, it's still painful. But I think this might just be a conditioned reflex from when I was in my early 20s, so I pinched my palm hard, and a strong pain came. I silently recited in my heart, 17-year-old Wening. This time you must win. The next moment, Shinqingzi's clear voice came. There are many ways to solve these problems. Do you want to hear them? I quickly wiped my face and looked up at him, grinning widely. Yes. That night during self-study class, Shinqingzi pushed his well-organized physics notes towards me. Maybe you can use them. I opened it, and there were his neat and elegant handwriting, summarizing each key point. In the previous life, he got into Tsinghua University. I heard that after graduation, he came back here. I don't know why. I wrote a note and passed it to him. Shinqingzi, do you think I can get into Tsinghua if I start working hard now? He unfolded the note, and the warm white light shone on his face, casting a delicate shadow of his eyelashes beneath his high nose bridge. He curled his lips and began to write. My heart was in my throat. I was afraid he would reply, "You're not even close," but when I unfolded the note, there was only one character on it, Ken. 10. Perhaps it was the strong desire of this life to change my fate, or maybe it was the affirmation from the top student. I ignited a fierce determination. I started organizing my class notes and reviewing the key points. Before, I relied on my little bit of smarts, and many questions were just half understood. Now, I started from the basics, chewing over the textbook knowledge again and again. Thanks to being seated next to Shinqingzi, I made full use of this top student resource, and even added his contact information at the same time, making it easier to consult difficult questions. His social media circle had few posts, but the only one that repeatedly appeared was a sunflower. Perhaps the sunflower had a special meaning for him. Like how Jiang Beiyan used to post some gardenias on his social media circle occasionally. Later, I understood, it was representing Sinji. I wonder, hasn't Sinji been bringing Jiang Beiyan breakfast lately? But surprisingly, there was a bottle of yogurt and bread on my desk. I asked Shinqingzi, "Is this yours?" He shook his head. The girl behind me poked my back and whispered, "I came early." It was Jiang Beiyan who delivered it. TSK. After the two of them had a cold war, they came to me for attention again. I didn't even turn to look at him. I went to the back of the class and threw the trash away. When I came back, Jiang Beiyan stretched out his foot to block me. His eyes filled with hidden anger. "Wening, what do you mean by that? I don't understand what you're saying." He pointed at the trash. "I bought the breakfast." Oh, that's the attitude you want from me." I laughed at him. "Jiang Beiyan, have you been possessed? What attitude do I need for just a breakfast? Should I kneel down and bow to you?" He was furious, his eyes almost bulging. "Wening, have you had enough fun? What do you want me to do to get your attention?" I crossed my arms and glanced at him, returning his words from the previous life. "Are you done yet? Can't you find something else to do?" "I'm busy." Then I stepped over his foot and went back to my seat. Jiang Beiyan spoke in a low voice. Okay, Wening, you're impressive. 11. I really am impressive. After the monthly exam results came out, I jumped from the middle of the class to the top 15. Of course, Shen Qingxi is even more impressive. He's firmly in first place, and he's even far ahead of the others. I looked at the ranking and secretly thought, I wish one day I could be behind him, so I studied even harder. I wished I could stretch a day into 2 days. I even regretted that I had wasted so much good time on Jiang Beiyan in the past 2 years. I really was crazy. I stood in front of the honor board for a while, then got ready to leave, but I didn't know when Shen Qingxi had come to stand beside me. I pointed at the photo on it. It looks really good. He has been at the top for the past 2 years. He looked in my direction and nodded. He isn't the least bit modest. On the way back to the classroom, he suddenly spoke. Wening, are you sure you want to apply to Tsinghua? I looked up at him. The remaining sunlight fell on his shoulder, warming his white shirt. His sincere and bright eyes reflected my image. I met his gaze and nodded firmly. Yes, Shen Qingxi, one day I will be next to your name. 12. But I didn't expect that Sinji had come to see me. In the previous life, we didn't have any interaction throughout high school. This life, I think it's probably because I changed the plot, so some character relationships also changed. She blocked me during PE class, and I was afraid of something that would be hard to explain. I turned on the phone's video recording function. She immediately wanted to slap me. I quickly blocked it. I pulled her hand away, and she looked at me angrily. Wening, are you really that despicable? Do you think these tricks will make Jiang Beiyan like you? I laughed. I think you have a completely underdeveloped brain, and an overdeveloped cerebellum. What do I need his affection for? How much is it worth? You like him. Go find him then. Why are you two fighting and taking it out on me? I'm not a trash can. I don't take everything. I really don't want to get involved with her anymore. She grabbed my hand and said, I'll tell you, Jiang Beiyan likes me. If you're smart, stay away from him. It made me laugh. Big sister, you're sick. Go see a doctor. I don't care who Jiang Beiyan likes. If you have time to bother me here, why not do a few more problems to enrich your barren mind? No wonder they say she and Jiang Beiyan are a pair. Both of them are people who don't understand common sense. For such people, I don't even want to say more words. As I was about to leave, Sinji came after me and blocked my way again. A second later, a soccer ball flew towards us. Fortunately, she blocked my view, and the ball hit her directly. She fell to the ground, but because I was holding her, I also fell to the ground due to inertia. Jiang Beiyan ran over from the distance. What's going on? Sinji held her forehead and looked at him with teary eyes. My head is so painful and dizzy. Am I concussed? Good grief. I really wonder if the head on her neck is just to make her look taller. It's hit on her body, and she still got a concussion. Medical students would want to take her for a specimen right here. I laughed coldly. She hugged Jiang Beiyan's leg. I just wanted to apologize to Wening, but she pushed me. I never thought of hurting her. I just wanted her not to ignore you. Please don't be angry with her. Okay, another one of these plot lines. I've seen this too many times in my previous life, and every time I argued, Jiang Beiyan would look at me coldly and tell me not to make trouble for no reason. This time I didn't say anything. I tried to get up on my hands, but Jiang Beiyan rushed to my side. He picked me up directly. Where did you get hurt? Let me see. This action shocked both Sinji, who was lying on the ground, and me, who was in his arms. He looked down at Sinji, his tone devoid of any warmth. Why did you go to her? Sinji's tears fell down, looking at him with a pouty face. Jiang Beiyan, he just frowned, not even looking at her. I told you clearly last time, I don't like you. Don't come looking for me anymore. By the way, if I find you disturbing Wen Ying's studies again, don't blame me for being unkind to you. I had Jiang Beiyan put me down on the way. It was just a small scrape on my hand. No blood even came out. Jiang Beiyan still stubbornly put a band-aid on me. He looked down, for the first time lowering his pride, his voice carrying a plea. Wening, after the basketball accidentally hit you last time, I haven't had any contact with Sinji anymore, so, can you stop treating me like this? 13. I always feel like I forgot something in the previous life in the fire scene, but I just can't remember what it was. Still, I don't want any connection with Jiang Beiyan. He brought breakfast, and I gave it to the fat guy ahead. He brought snacks, and I distributed them to everyone before self-study class. He prepared a gift for me, and I returned all of it. Our relationship seemed to have changed, and he started doing the things I used to do for him, but I still didn't talk to him, to be precise. I didn't have time to get involved with him, I was only focused on studying, only wanting to keep shortening the distance from Shinchingsi, because there's a saying that if you set your goal very high, even if you don't reach it, you won't be too far from it. I printed this sentence and stuck it on my desk, and wrote on it with a black marker pen, Beijing, wait for me, there is a big exclamation mark behind. Shinchingsi saw it and smiled. I turned my head and said, do you think I'm childish? He shook his head and said, no, then why are you laughing? Shinchingsi didn't say anything, but he picked up his pen and added a sentence behind that line, wait for me to get into Tsinghua. I wasn't sure whether this sentence was written for me or for him, but I still remember, the autumn afternoon, the breeze blowing the classroom curtains, creating ripples. The bright and clear young man in his school uniform held the pen tightly and carefully wrote down his dream. We smiled at each other. It turns out, during our student days, we could also have a telepathic understanding for our dreams and with someone. 14. Time passes quickly, and the midterm exam arrived as expected. My ranking improved a bit, just 10th place. Even the head teacher noticed my progress and called me to talk in the office. Inside, Shinchingsi was helping the teacher prepare some materials. The teacher said that 3 nights of self-study classes each week would be set aside for individual tutoring for the top 5 students in the grade. It's aimed at cultivating students who can enter Tsinghua and Peking University. The message he conveyed was that he saw my potential and hoped I could also join. I nodded and said, okay, teacher, I will work hard. There's still some distance to the top 5. I did a review of my own situation again. My weaknesses now are physics and biology. Physics has always been my biggest problem, but it also means there's a lot of room for improvement. Biology, I don't like memorizing things, but ultimately it's because my foundation is not solid. After leaving the office, I met Shinchingsi, who had also just come out. On the way back to the classroom, he called out to me, Wening. I turned around, and his expression was relaxed, with less aloofness. I believe you can make it into the top 5. I was stunned for a moment, and laughed. I also believe in myself, but right now, physics and biology really need improvement. I still have to work harder. The sky was dim, and the streetlights in the campus lit up one by one. The high-rise buildings in the distance were brightly lit. I walked back to the classroom with Shinchingsi. When we were almost at the door, I heard Shinchingsi's reply, Wening, I'll help you. 15. No one can refuse an invitation from a top student. Shinchingsi really kept his word. And he helped me go through the physics knowledge points. He patiently explained the thinking process of each problem to me. He kept drawing diagrams to help me visualize the concepts. After some time, I felt that my problem-solving approach had indeed improved. As for biology, he directly subjected me to intensive training, making me memorize by force. I protested, really? I don't study liberal arts because I don't like memorizing things. Shinchingsi looked serious and said, no way. Like the iron-faced Yan Wang, there's nothing I can do about it. To avoid disturbing others, every evening before study hall, he would wait by the playground, making sure I finished the assigned tasks. That day, as I was reciting, suddenly the skies began to snow. Under the lights, they fell gently, then melted in my palm. Many students were watching from the window, taking photos. I looked at the snowflakes and asked, Shinchingsi, I want to take the entrance exam for Tsinghua University. What about you? He looked at my face for a moment, then turned around and caught a snowflake. I am too, Shinchingsi. I will definitely get in. I know. I lowered my head, feeling strangely sad, thinking about the events of the previous life. It felt like a dream, this absurd thing. No one can understand. I'm afraid something strange will happen again in this life, afraid that once again I still can't change my fate. I can only bear it alone. Turning all the sorrows into a foundation for moving forward. Maybe because I hadn't spoken for a long time, Shinchingsi sat beside me and spoke gently, Wening, if you're unhappy, you can tell me. The playground was bustling with people, and snow was falling from the sky. I looked up, biting my lip hard, afraid that the next moment tears would fall. I don't want to lose, and I can't lose. Shinchingsi, want to take a gamble with me? His voice carried a hint of a smile. What's the bet? Bet that I'll catch up to you. When the last snowflake fell, I heard his answer, you will win. 16. Before the final exam, I was called to the head teacher's office with Shinchingsi. This final exam is also the first provincial simulation exam. It said that the results of the first simulation exam can predict the college entrance exam results, so the head teacher talked to the top 10 students, telling us not to be nervous and to take it as usual. I didn't expect to run into Jiang Beiyan and Senji right after leaving. Senji is always eager to cause trouble. Isn't this the top science student, Shen Qingxi? Hey, Wening, why don't you lick Jiang Beiyan anymore and start licking the university top student instead? Jiang Beiyan's face turned very ugly. Shen Qingxi wanted to say something, but I stopped him. I think it's not worth arguing with her. Who knew she would mock again? You've already held hands. Isn't Jiang Beiyan good enough for you? You're cheating on both of them. Are you ashamed? I couldn't stand it anymore. I wonder why I could smell a bad odor from far away. It turns out you still have bad breath. Haven't you cured it yet? What about you? The worst student in the liberal arts class. Did you pass Chinese? How dare you speak so recklessly? Senji was about to speak, but Jiang Beiyan cut her off. Are you done yet? She was suddenly yelled at, and big tears came instantly. Jiang Beiyan, you ungrateful person. I spoke for you and you still treat me like this. Do you have any conscience? So annoying. I didn't want to get involved with them, so I pulled Shen Qingxi to leave. Jiang Beiyan suddenly spoke from the side. Shen Qingxi, let's talk. I don't know what they talked about, but after returning to the classroom, Jiang Beiyan's arrogance seemed to drop significantly. I approached Shen Qingxi and asked, did he hit you? He shook his head and said, we just talked. What did you talk about? A man's topic. What kind of topic? You'll find out after the college entrance exam. Hey, still keeping it a secret. Shen Qingxi held the newly distributed physics test. You're free. Come on, explain the logic of this problem. 17. Before the final exam, Shen Qingxi gave me a candy. Eat it. Your mood will get better, and if your mood is better, you'll know all the questions. I held the candy. You can rest assured, but you should study hard, otherwise I'll surpass you. Shen Qingxi smiled but said nothing. After the last subject, the rain stopped and the winter sun shone down, making everyone feel warm and cozy. Jiang Beiyan was waiting outside the classroom. My mom said she hasn't seen you for a while. Come back to our house for a meal. I really didn't want to go. Sometimes I wonder, if in my previous life, Jiang Beiyan and I hadn't ended up together, can we still be friends? The answer is, no, I can't be friends with someone I like now. I can't pretend nothing happened just because Jiang Beiyan hasn't had a chance to hurt me yet. What I did for him before, he always took for granted, using my feelings as a way to provoke Senji. I can't forgive him. Then I should just stay away from him as much as possible. I stepped back to a safe distance, shook my head, and said faintly, I won't go. I need to buy some materials. Jiang Beiyan's eyes flashed with pain, his voice full of confusion. Wening, tell me, where did I go wrong? If I wronged you before, I'll change. What else did I do wrong? Can you tell me? Can't you look at me with that distant gaze anymore? If you really want to make amends, then don't bother me anymore. I went around him and left. He stood in the corridor, his bangs falling over his eyes. I'm not sure if it was my imagination, but I thought I saw his eyes red. 18. The final exam results were announced, and I just got 5th place, especially my weakness in physics. I made great progress. I took a photo of my grades and sent it to Shen Qingxi. Look, my scores improved, he replied quickly. Still need to improve. Humph. After all, someone said they wanted to catch up with me. I was so scared that I immediately did 2 more sets of practice exams to calm down. During winter vacation, to avoid unnecessary trouble, I locked myself at home to study hard. Not even the annual visit to Jiang Beiyan did I go to. My mother was worried and said, dear daughter, you're studying so hard, don't study yourself silly. She doesn't understand. I just don't want to see Jiang Beiyan anymore. Moreover, studying is really addictive. I wish I could spend all my time at home. According to tradition, my parents are probably going to play mahjong until late. Riding late into the night, I looked out the window, and it was snowing again, and it's getting heavier and heavier. With a thick layer already on the ground, I put on my down jacket and prepared to make a snowman. When I went down, I realized I had forgotten to wear my scarf. Never mind, I'll be back up in a minute anyway. I was crouched on the ground, just finished making a big snowball, when suddenly I saw a pair of shoes in front of me. When I looked up, it was Jiang Beiyan. He was holding a thermos. I glanced at him and continued with my work. You didn't come. I was worried there would be no one to cook for you, so I brought you some food. I ignored him and continued making the second snowball. A cold wind blew into my nose, making me sneeze. The next second, Jiang Beiyan pulled off his scarf to wrap it around me. I reached out and said, no need. His hand stopped in midair, and after a while, he put it back down, as if nothing had happened, and crouched down. Let me help you. When I was very young, I loved to play snowball fights with Jiang Beiyan and liked to build snowmen. He always said that the little figures I made were all over the place, saying that, his hands didn't stop. I took the opportunity to throw a snowball into his neck. During the winter when I was 16, I did this again, but I suddenly realized that he had grown much taller than me. I jumped up to tease him, but he dodged, and I slipped, and we both fell into the snow. We both panted heavily, but couldn't stop laughing. At that time, I lay next to him and thought, if we could stay like this forever. Just, on our 18th birthday, we could only look at each other in silence. The longer I stayed in the snow, the longer Jiang Beiyan stayed with me, until I pressed the rubber band in my hand onto the snowman's mouth, and it was finally completed. Only then did I hear his trembling voice. I was momentarily crazy. I don't know why I got involved with Sinji. But I never thought about being with her. Nothing has happened between us. I don't like her, whether you believe it or not. Wening, you are the most important to me. We've been through 18 years together. Can you not leave me? By the end, his voice was choked with emotion. You said you would marry me when we grew up. One after another, snowflakes fell on Jiang Beiyan's head and body. Green mountains will never age. They will turn white for the snow. I just don't care anymore. I pulled my hat tighter and spoke in a normal tone. Just pretend I've changed. I feel disgusted every second I'm with Jiang Beiyan. I don't like you anymore. Let's end it here. When I turned around, he grabbed me. Have you really fallen for Shinqingzi? I shrugged my shoulders and said to him the same words he once said to me. If that's how you think, there's nothing I can do about it. 19. That day, after I went upstairs, Jiang Beiyan kept standing below, like a statue. I closed the window and continued studying my English vocabulary. During the spring festival, I received greetings from many friends. I replied to each of them one by one, then continued doing exercises. Jiang Beiyan sent me a photo. It was the New Year gift I gave him last year, a big Lego. I didn't reply to him. It was almost midnight when Shinqingzi sent a message, Happy New Year. I was about to reply, and then another message appeared in the chat window, give you a gift. 10 seconds later, a 49.2M file was sent to me, just 2 words, physics. I opened it, and it was all the key points and classic questions from the 3 years of high school, reorganized by Shinqingzi. This won't fool me. I also sent him my compiled Chinese key points. Shocking, her secret to scoring 140 in Chinese is here. Soon after, Shinqingzi called me. Wening, this time, you must do it well. You will get into Tsinghua University, and you will have a brighter future. Shinqingzi's voice had a unique boyish charm. I smiled and said, why are you saying these all of a sudden? Don't tell me it's because my Chinese is better than yours, and you're scared. I'm scared. What are you scared of? The air became quiet, after a pause. I finally heard his answer, scared I can't catch up with you. I laughed and said, Shinqingzi, you will. 20. This winter vacation was short, and school started soon after. Because I ranked in the top 5, I finally could join the top students for the teacher's individual tutoring during evening study sessions. The 5 of us were like sponges, constantly absorbing the knowledge provided by the teachers, enriching ourselves. Every time before class, when everyone was discussing their dream college life, their eyes were full of light. It's once again the 100-day oath ceremony. This time, Shinqingzi was the student representative who went to the podium to lead everyone in reciting the oath. Finally, he said, I hope everyone faces the sun and moves towards the light. I was slightly taken aback. I remembered my self-introduction in my first year of high school. My name is Wening. I was born under the sun, like a sunflower. Always facing the light, I looked up at the stage. From a distance, it seemed as if Shinqingzi's gaze had fallen on my face. A pile of papers, repeated exams, became the daily life of the last semester of senior year. In the second mock exam, I ranked 3rd. 3 exams, I got 2nd place. Not only was it 2nd in the grade, but it was also 2nd in the city. This time, the gap between my score and Shinqingzi's has further narrowed. I was just about to show off a little, when he stopped me and told me to take out my physics test paper to carefully analyze the mistakes. Ugh, the top scorer is really hard to deal with. What can I do? I just followed his advice, corrected the mistakes, and continued to practice similar types of questions. A few days before the college entrance exam, during the last period of self-study class, Shinqingzi suddenly called me. Wening, what? You should work hard for the college entrance exam. I laughed. I will definitely do it. I prayed to heaven for a chance to do it all over again. How could I not cherish it? yes, always tell me if you have any problems, okay, if you need help, come to me, got it, also, what else? I turned around, he smiled, then shook his head, his eyes clear and bright. Beijing is beautiful, I know. Then he took out a lucky charm from his bag and placed it on my desk. I got it on the second day of the Lunar New Year. Hoping it brings you good luck, I picked it up and said, "Why did you give it to me now? It's not too late, thank you." After that, there was only the sound of our pens scratching against the paper. I turned my head and looked at him. The warm classroom light gave a golden hue to his hair ends, making him look more gentle. "Shenqingxi," I called out to him. See you in Beijing." Okay, 21. I had made full preparations. I didn't expect that on the way to the exam, I was blocked. A few hooligans blocked my way. I frowned and moved to the side. They laughed and blocked me again. One of them with red hair grinned. "Hey, top student, going for the college entrance exam," I confirmed. They were after me specifically. I didn't think I had offended anyone in the past year, as I had been studying hard every day. The only person who could have sent them was one person. "Did Sinji send you?" "Who sent us doesn't matter. We just want to show you a little color. Today is the college entrance exam. Can we settle this after the exam?" Those few hooligans were looking at me like it was a joke. "It's too late now, little sister. If you come with us willingly, we'll make sure not to hurt you. If you resist, we'll really hurt your delicate skin." After saying that, they laughed in a sinister way. I realized that fighting back definitely wouldn't work. Their goal was to prevent me from taking today's exam, but after working so hard, how could I just give up and miss it? When I was about to press the emergency call, a voice behind me said, "It's not fair to bully a little girl when there are so many of you." The red-haired one snorted, "Don't get involved, it's none of your business." I saw them rolling up their sleeves, and with their numbers, it was clear we were at a disadvantage, so I pulled Jian Baiyan's sleeve and said, "Run away." But before we could react, the leader with red hair rushed forward. Jian Baiyan quickly shielded me behind him and said, "You run away." Then I got into a fight with them. I took the opportunity to run out and just met Shen Qingxi at the intersection. He immediately called the police. Fortunately, because the college entrance exam was a big event, there were many police officers on the street maintaining order. After explaining the situation, I asked them to go and save Jian Baiyan quickly. When there were still 5 minutes before the exam started, the police officers escorted us to the school safely. Before entering, Shen Qingxi gave me a piece of candy and said, "Wening, good luck." Thinking about my goal to go to Beijing, I nodded. 2 days passed like a dream, and it was soon over. I only remember the clear blue sky, the sound of cicadas, and the light cast by the wind moving the leaves. The good thing is that Jian Baiyan was 10 minutes late for the first class, but still entered. He didn't miss the exam after all. Because I don't want to owe someone a favor. After investigation, nothing was found, and the hooligans were judged to be causing trouble, so they were just given a verbal warning. But I know, behind the scenes, it should be Tsinji. 22. In the evening, the class organized a party. It just happened to be in the same place as Tsinji's class. I took a cup of alcohol and walked over, then I poured it over her head. She let out a scream. I played the previous recording in front of everyone. When that "Wening, are you embarrassing yourself?" was played, her face turned pale immediately. I grabbed her chin and said, "Tsinji, you had someone block me so I couldn't take the college entrance exam. We need to have a serious talk about this." There was a flash of panic in her eyes. I was right, but she suddenly shouted, "Wening, you're crazy. If you have the guts, call the police." I really am crazy. If I could have a second chance, I wouldn't have anything left to lose or care about. I smiled at the people in her class and said, "Personal matters, let's settle them first." Then he grabbed her hand and pulled her to a secluded private room. In the middle, Jian Baiyan came over. I looked up and said, "Move aside." Tsinji looked like she found a savior, grabbing Jian Baiyan's sleeve and saying, "Jian Baiyan, it's not my fault. You quickly deal with Wening, that scoundrel." "Wening," Jian Baiyan spoke. I looked at him and said, "You want to play the knight in shining armor again." But the next sentence, he said, "This kind of thing, leave it to me. Don't dirty your hands." Then he ignored Tsinji's scream, covered her mouth, and pulled her to a place without surveillance. I didn't feel like going to the party anymore, so I sat on a chair by the side. Suddenly feel kind of meaningless. I don't know why in this life Jian Baiyan has changed like this, but everything is too late now. I touched the place where my heart is. Hate him, I think I do. Hate him for trampling on my love. making me pay the price of my own confusion with my life. Love him, maybe in the previous life I did, but all of it was burned away by that sudden big fire. I feel a severe dryness in my throat. I desperately want to drink something. A bottle of water was held out in front of me. It was Shinchingsi. For some reason, I suddenly felt a bit guilty. He must have seen what just happened. Would he think I was unjustly accusing someone? After all, we reported the incident together that day, and we both know the outcome. I looked up at him and asked, "Do you think I'm very cruel?" He shook his head and came closer to me, then sat down next to me. Under the fluorescent light, his features remained cold. "Are you feeling better?" For a moment, I was confused, then I nodded quickly and shook my head again. After taking revenge, it didn't feel as happy as I had imagined. He took out a bottle of yogurt from his bag, opened it, and held it out in front of me. "Try this." I took a sip and snorted, "Shinchingsi, you really don't know how to make a girl happy." I saw his face turn red in an instant, even his ear tips turned red. After a while, he finally spoke, "Then teach me." 23. The gathering still had to continue. I don't know how Jiang Beiyan dealt with it. Anyway, I didn't see Tsinji that night, and he became very strange after coming back. He kept looking at me, and his eyes carried some emotions I couldn't understand. It seemed as if he had suddenly grown older. Under various toasting sessions with classmates, he came to me with a wine glass in hand. A second later, a few tears fell down. He said, "I'm sorry, Wening, it's all over. Jiang Beiyan, I hope our entanglement ends here. I really don't want to end up like in the previous life, trapped in this emotional quagmire, suffering endlessly. I just want to stay away from people who make me feel uncomfortable. From now on, never seeing each other again, that would be good." But Jiang Beiyan still pulled me into a secluded private room. In the dim space, all I could hear were our breathing sounds. After a moment of silence, Jiang Beiyan looked at my stomach. His eyes reddening, I heard him ask, voice suppressed, "Wening, do we have a child?" I was stunned, looking at him. He closed his eyes in pain. "It's because I hurt you so much before, that you became like this." It turned out he had also reincarnated. I finally remembered the thing I had never thought of. Why did Jinji come to my door that day? It was because I met her while I was having a medical checkup in the hospital. "I'm pregnant. The pregnancy test report shows that I am 6 weeks pregnant, and the fetus already has a heartbeat." Her face turned pale instantly. I was full of excitement and wanted to tell Jiang Beiyan the good news after he got off work, but instead I met Jinji. If we both get into a desperate situation, do you think he would choose who? Like the last straw that broke the camel's back, I finally realized and decided to get a divorce. I just didn't expect a sudden fire to appear. This fire came in a strange way. Before being consumed by the fire, I waved that piece of paper, not giving up, and called out to Jiang Beiyan, but he couldn't hear me, because he didn't even look back. What was my mood at that moment? It seemed I had no mood at all. Not a single tear fell from my eyes. But now, my vision instantly became blurred. I gently touched my stomach. In fact, I had never cried. I didn't cry when I was given up countless times. He didn't come to save me and my child, and I didn't cry, even when I was reborn. I didn't cry, but now, I cried, not for myself, but for the unborn baby in my belly. Jiang Beiyan tried to reach out and touch me, but I dodged. "Don't touch me, you make me feel sick." He stood there, a thin figure, as if he had suddenly become old and worn. He choked out, "Wening, I'm sorry, but Jiang Beiyan, it was a case of 1 death and 2 lives." I tightly grabbed his collar, my voice trembling. "Jiang Beiyan, I will never forgive you." "I know." He crouched on the ground, grabbing his hair. "I'm sorry. I really am sorry." Like a pitiful person who had lost their beloved. After a while, he looked up, his eyes red with blood, as if wanting to touch my hand. "I was really a jerk before, Wening, I'm sorry for you and the child." It seemed he only knew how to say "I'm sorry," but how could it possibly be okay? Whether you believe it or not, I saved her because she was closer to the exit. I had planned to take her out first and then come back for you immediately, so I didn't look back. No, Jiang Beiyan. If I was the most important to you, your eyes wouldn't have looked at anyone else. He seemed to have been struck at his weakness, trembling, looking at me with despair and pain. Finally, as if having made a decision, he said to me, "Can I have one last hug?" I took a few steps back and shook my head. "I think there's no need for it anymore." As he was leaving, he heard his voice as if coming from afar. "Wening, I will give you and our child an explanation." 24. But it was too late. I don't care anymore. After the party ended, I was so drunk I was swaying. and I felt really bad. It felt like something was heavily pounding in my heart, making it hard to breathe. Shinchinzi took my hand, his eyes full of tenderness. If you feel sad, just cry it out. Tears fell one after another, falling on his hand, falling on the ground. It spread instantly. I kept my head down, desperately trying to control myself. I thought I had already cried all my tears, but I hadn't. They still wouldn't listen to me, falling down constantly. In the summer night breeze, Shinchinzi gently embraced me, pulling me into his arms. The pleasant scent of a young man enveloped me instantly. Wening, it's over. I bit his shoulder hard, trying not to make a sound. He gently patted my back, speaking in a soft and determined tone. We will all have a better future. 25. It was the last time I saw Jian Beiyan. It was him coming to my building to call me. I leaned out of the window. He was wearing a blue t-shirt, looking fresh and bright, completely different from that night. It reminded me of the way he used to wait for me at the building when we were in junior high school to go to school together. Just like when he was young. I was just about to close the window. Jian Beiyan waved at me and smiled. Wening, goodbye. I didn't expect that, on this ordinary afternoon, that goodbye meant this. A sudden fire broke out in Shangya community. When the firefighters arrived, 2 people inside had no signs of life. It is reported that the 2 were this year's college entrance exam candidates. The relevant departments are currently investigating the details. That day was the day the exam results were announced. Jian Beiyan and Senji died in the fire. When I went to Jian Beiyan's funeral, his parents handed me a box. I opened it, and there was a photo inside. It was a photo of me and Jian Beiyan from our middle school graduation. I was smiling happily, while he had an ugly expression. On the back, there was a line of text, which I had written. Wening, I will be like a sunflower, your little son, Jian Beiyan. And there was also a black hair tie, which I left on the snowman that night, as well as a letter from Jian Beiyan to me. Wening, I'm sorry, I'm a bastard. I don't know that I treated you so badly in my past life. I really want to kill myself. I actually don't dislike you. On the contrary, I love you. I just sometimes can't tell if it's love or habit. When Senji appeared, her personality was different from yours. I thought I liked her, but I didn't want to lose you. I admit I'm a scumbag, thinking back to the things I did to you before. I want to go back and beat that Jian Beiyan up, that day. Shinchinzi asked me, what can I bring you, make you happy, make you better? I didn't have anything. I only made you more manic. He said, if I want you to be happy, I should clear all obstacles in your way. I didn't know that he did just as much as me. He even had people beat up Senji, and warned her not to come looking for you. I didn't know any of this. It seems that the person who looked so cold, who only focused on studying, also had such a cruel look in his eyes. I thought this time you were because of Senji, so I had already kept away from her early, hoping to gain your attention again, but you only showed me coldness, and my heart was more painful than being cut by a knife. Until that party, I remembered everything, and I knew that we really got married in our past life. If 18-year-old Jian Beiyan knew, he would be very happy, but you died in that fire, because of me. In the previous life, that fire was Senji's doing. So this life let me do something for you. I really hope that 18-year-old Jian Beiyan dies, so there wouldn't be a 25-year-old Jian Beiyan who hurts you. If you have seen this letter, it means I succeeded. Wening, this life, you should be happy. Don't ever remember me. If there is a next life, I will personally atone for my sins. Please don't push me away this time, okay? Also, this life, Jian Beiyan at 18, loves Wening, 26, after coming out. It was Shinchinzi who came to pick me up. The sunlight was very bright. I had trouble opening my eyes. If you feel unwell, my shoulder can be relied on. Want to cry? No, just melancholy. In the previous life, I paid the price for my stubbornness. In this life, Jian Beiyan atoned with his life. Again, the ending was like this. I never thought of this direction. That day, I walked around the lake again and again with Shinchinzi. I didn't say a word, and he just kept accompanying me. Until the stars shone brightly, his eyes remained bright. The start of the school term was approaching, and I and Shinchinzi took the same flight. On the plane, I asked him, Shinchinzi, why did you apply to Tsinghua? Because you wanted to. Why do you like sunflowers? I remember on the first day of school, a classmate introduced herself. She said, my name is Wening. Ing means welcoming the sunrise. I am like a sunflower, always facing the light. Shinchinzi, you've been secretly in love with me since freshman year, right? Yes, so, Would you give me a chance to become a regular employee? A long time later, I found out. It turned out that my connection with Shinqingxi had already existed in the previous life. It's like a cycle. This life, Shinqingxi chose to take the Tsinghua University entrance exam because I said I wanted to, while in the previous life, Shinqingxi took the Tsinghua University entrance exam because I, in this life, wanted to go there. I smiled and took his hand. Then, look forward to the future. End of main text. Shinqingxi's side story. What are you going to exchange? I use my soul. He left decisively, not even giving me a glance. I know. So I hope I can have another life. If I have another life, can you guarantee that Wening won't make the same mistakes again? I don't know. I just hope that she can live a good life again, even if it means sacrificing my life. If the result is still the same, will you regret it? No, I will never regret it. The day we were reborn, when Jiang Beiyan proposed to her, she crossed the crowd and came to me. I think, Shinqingxi, no matter what the outcome is, you are worth it. Story 2. On the night of the graduation dinner, I sent the drunk school babe to the school bully's room. My childhood friend, however, mistook me for the school babe. It was a chaotic night. Everyone said that I deliberately broke up him and the school babe, so much so that after marriage, no matter what I did, I couldn't warm my childhood friend's heart, until I accidentally heard him talking on the phone on the street. As long as he can be happy, I'm willing to hold back Nianchu for a lifetime. Otherwise, who would want to marry a bookworm home? Doesn't she want a child? I'll give her one. The harsh sound of a car horn behind interrupted his words. My childhood friend subconsciously turned his head and saw me at the corner. Instantly, he ran towards me in a panic, trying to push me away. The next moment, we were both hit and sent flying by a car. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of the graduation dinner. This time, I decided to fulfill his relationship with the school babe. Only my childhood friend, Shinxinian, knew that I liked the school bully, Yao Yi, on the night of the university graduation dinner. Song Yi asked me to take her to rest. I didn't know that it was the school bully's room. Moreover, the school babe had an excellent acting skill. As soon as she was out of everyone's sight, she became sober in an instant. Even when she looked at me, there was mockery in her eyes. In my previous life, I couldn't understand these things. After all, I was the scheming and vicious bookworm in everyone's mouth. It was not until I heard Shinxinian's phone call before I died in my previous life that I finally woke up completely. So it turned out that he could sacrifice his whole life for Song Yi. I was so stupid to believe that the love he said when he proposed to me was real. Before I died, Shinxinian and I fell in a pool of blood together. When the speeding car crashed into us, he desperately protected me in his arms and used his back to resist the impact for me. However, at such a time, doing anything was of no avail. The violent impact directly sent me flying more than 10 meters away. Before my consciousness dissipated, I vaguely saw, not far away, Shinxinian, stubbornly covered in blood. Even though his whole body was shaking with pain, he still tried his best to crawl towards me. The wounds on his 10 fingers were so deep that the bones could be seen, and his voice was shaking terribly. Xiaochu, don't scare me, wake up and listen to my explanation. I was wrong, Xiaochu. Shinxinian's heart-broken voice made me want to vomit, and immediately a large mouthful of blood gushed out of my mouth. At the last moment of my life, I finally fought once. I used all my strength to move my fingers, avoiding Shinxinian's hand that was desperately reaching out to interlock fingers with mine. It was too late to admit mistakes now. Choo-choo, what do you mean it's too late? You haven't drunk much either. Come on, have some more. I was awakened from my memories. Only then did I realize that I had been reborn and returned to my senior year. The school bully was the host and invited us classmates to his empty villa to celebrate our university graduation. The graduation dinner might be the beginning of a new life for others, but for me in my previous life, it was the entrance to hell. The one who spoke just now was the school babe, Song Yi. Her voice was sweet and delicate. Shinxinian always asked me to learn from her. Even when she was angry, it was like acting coquettishly, and few people could refuse. I couldn't drink alcohol originally, but since the school babe took the initiative to toast, if I didn't drink, people would say that I was ungrateful. Unfortunately, the time point of my rebirth was not right. I had already drunk a glass of wine just now, and I started to feel a little dizzy. So no matter how much Song Yi tried to persuade me, I didn't drink another drop. I just held my glasses and pretended to be drunk. After all, I still had something to do later and couldn't really get drunk. Seeing this, Song Yi's eyes rolled. She picked up her wine glass and said to the others at the table, "The top student won't drink. Then I'll drink the rest for her." I lowered my head and sneered. She was clearly drinking the wine in her own glass, but she said she was drinking for me. In my previous life, how could I have her scheming? She really talked a good game. I poured a glass of plain water, held it and took a sip, silently watching Song Yi perform. At this time, Shinxinian had already helped Song Yi get Yao Yi drunk and sent him upstairs, and Shinxinian himself had also drunk a lot and was resting in the room next to Yao Ye's. At this time, Song Yi was performing so hard, she was probably up to something else. Soon, Song Yi's cheeks turned red from drinking, and she leaned on me with hazy eyes. She said in a voice that everyone could hear, "Choo-choo, I drank so much to block the wine for you. You send me upstairs to rest. My life and fortune are all in your hands. Choo-choo, you must ensure my safety." In my previous life, I had already been drunk by Song Yi. I only heard the words, "go upstairs to rest," clearly from what she said. Then I was dizzily taken upstairs by her. However, after being reborn, I found that Song Yi's words and actions at this time were extremely clever. She said that it was because of me that she drank too much. I had the obligation to send her to rest safely, and as soon as she said these words, a seed was planted in the minds of everyone present. Whatever happened to Song Yi tonight was all my fault, coupled with her drunken appearance at the moment, needing to lean on me to walk. It showed her harmless identity to the outside world, but no one knew that from an angle that others couldn't see. Song Yi, relying on her height advantage over me, her hands seemed to be on my shoulders, looking as soft as boneless. In fact, she was pinching my shoulders and pushing me out. The pain in my shoulders made me frown, so I simply pretended to be drunk. Taking the opportunity of taking off my glasses, I shook off the restraint on my shoulders. Then, I softened into Song Yi's arms all of a sudden, half a head shorter than her. With a blushing baby face, I hugged her and acted coquettishly in a soft voice, "Sister Yi, I'm so dizzy, I can't walk anymore." Everyone present didn't expect me to react like this. After all, in their eyes, Song Yi and I were love rivals, because Shinxinian liked her, and when I was asked who I liked during the game of truth or dare just now, I also said it was Shinxinian. Soon, I heard someone exclaim, "Damn, the top student is really drunk." Hiding in Song Yi's arms, I didn't say a word and just pretended to be drunk. From an angle that others couldn't see, I twitched the corner of my mouth and smiled. Song Yi was frightened by my actions, and her eyes instantly became clear, but she still needed me to take the blame for her tonight, so she could only grit her teeth and endure, not pushing me away. Moreover, in order to make the fake seem real, she really drank a lot of wine and was at least 80% drunk now. With my messy hair, I blinked and looked at her. "Sister Yi, let's sleep together tonight." 3. I don't know what Song Yi was thinking at the moment, but that was really my plan. Only by staying with me tonight could Song Yi prevent the chaos from happening. Moreover, I had lived 10 more years than Song Yi at this time. In my eyes, she was a misguided younger sister. Perhaps she had experienced something in college that made her eager to find a rich boyfriend now. But the little girl, for the sake of face, designed me. She wanted everyone to think that I was jealous that Shinxinian liked her, so I deliberately sent the drunkard to the school bully's room. In my previous life, her plan was very successful. The day after the dinner, I became a synonym for viciousness. Everyone said that I had hurt her, and everyone cursed me when they mentioned me. Gradually, I also thought that it was all my fault for drinking too much and sending her to the wrong room. It was me who caused her to disappear for 10 years, and it was also me who caused Shinxinian to lose his beloved. So I started to try every means to atone for my sins. Since I couldn't find Song Yi, I gave all my repentance to Shinxinian. I started to learn to love him, wanting to warm his heart with my sincerity, just hoping that he would stop hating me. After all, I was adopted by the Shin family since I was a child, and I couldn't repay the kindness of more than 10 years of raising. But in the end, the one who was deceived the most was me. Shinxinian could actually sacrifice his whole life for Song Yi, using marriage to hold me back, not allowing me the slightest chance to destroy Song Yi's happiness. Actually, on the day of the car accident, I went to find Shinxinian. I originally wanted to tell him the whereabouts of Song Yi. It was also on this day that I learned from Yao Yi where Song Yi had been for the past 10 years. I wanted him to see Song Yi's true face, let him stop feeling guilty about why he got drunk and didn't protect Song Yi well on the day of the dinner. But before I could say anything, we were hit and killed. I was very grateful to God for giving me the chance to be reborn. Just now at the dinner table, I had been thinking, what should I do to repay God's gift? I had thought about taking revenge on Song-yi severely, making her taste what it was like to be ruined. But when I looked at the girl in front of me like a flower, I couldn't bear it. So when Song-yi asked me to send her to rest, I asked her in public if she wanted to sleep together. If she chose to be with me tonight and no longer do wrong things, then I would let go of what happened in my previous life. After all, there were 2 time spaces apart. There was no reason for me to take revenge on her in this time space for what she did to me in the other time space. But if she insisted on being stupid, I would also respect her choice. Everyone had to be responsible for their own choices. So, when Song-yi pushed me and stopped between the 2 doors, I asked her a second time, decide for yourself. Do you want to sleep here tonight or go to another room with me? At this time, the effect of the alcohol on Song-yi came up, and her eyes were hazy when she looked at me, but when she heard my question, she still shook her head vigorously, trying to stay awake. Let me think, I can't remember, Song-yi said as she knocked on her head a few times. Seeing this, I directly asked her who she chose. On the left is, I wanted to tell her that on the left was Xiao Yi, on the right was Shin Sinian, and I was beside her. However, before I could finish my words, I was interrupted by Song-yi. I forgot who I drugged. This sentence was like a thunderbolt exploding in my ear, making me stunned. At this moment, when I looked at Song-yi again, I just felt that she was like something rotten. The blooming flower had rotted from the root. In order to achieve her goal, she would actually use such a despicable means. I started to think about whether I had been drugged. Subconsciously, I took a step back and distanced myself from her. I asked her again, but got the same answer. She said, anyone is fine, just pick one. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes, deciding to let go of my savior complex and respect her fate. So I coldly watched her enter Shin Xinyan's room by herself. Then I turned around and pushed open the door of the next room. Song-yi couldn't remember who she drugged, but I had the memories of my previous life. As soon as she said it, I knew who had been drugged. Tonight, I'll still come to save this poor little school bully. As soon as I opened the door, I was shivered by the cold air. The room was frighteningly messy, with water stains everywhere. Following the sound of water, I looked over. The always arrogant and cool school bully was now sitting pitifully on the ground, with his back against the sofa, pouring ice water over his head. His short-sleeved shirt was thrown aside. He was only wearing a pair of gray sweatpants. Yao Yi lowered his head. His short, black hair was wet and stuck to his face, slightly covering his eyebrows and eyes. Water droplets slid down his sharp jawline and dripped onto his pants. 1 drop, 2 drops, creating a damp patch. It made people thirsty. The boy's slender fingers with distinct joints were squeezing the plastic water bottle, making it creak. Yao Yi raised his head, seeing that no more water could be poured out. He actually stuck his tongue in and licked it. His bright red tongue circled around the mouth of the bottle and then retracted. The view was blocked by his full lips. The Yao Yi in my memory was still a teenager with red hair and earrings, full of arrogance and rebellion. Now looking at him again, that arrogant face was still dazzlingly handsome. However, his red-tinged skin all over his body and his hot gasps indicated his abnormal state at the moment. He reacted a bit slowly and only then realized that someone had entered the room. Without even looking up, he viciously told the person to get out. Who let you in? Get out. But when he turned his head and saw that it was me, the words "don't touch me" in his mouth were forcefully swallowed back. He stumbled and tried to hide in the refrigerator, but because his legs were weak, he sat crookedly on the ground. I took a bottle of ice water, unscrewed it, and handed it to him. Yao Yi, where's your phone? I'll call a doctor for you. He raised his head and took a few big gulps of water. The water that he didn't have time to swallow flowed down from the corners of his lips to his neck. Then, in a daze, he started groping in his pants pocket for his phone. I saw that his pocket was bulging, as if there was a phone in it, but after a long time, he still couldn't find where the pocket was. He also looked up at me with a confused face. His red lips were moving, but I couldn't hear what he was saying. I thought he was taking too much trouble. I directly pulled his obstructive hand away and went to get it myself, but the moment my hand reached in, I regretted it. With my experience as a urologist in my previous life for many years, this shape was definitely not a phone. Before I could scream, Yao Yi was already panting unbearably in my ear. The hot air blew past the tip of my ear, and I subconsciously turned my head to avoid the itch, just in time to meet Yao Yi's red-rimmed eyes. I'll go call someone for you. I got up in a panic, but he held me down with a hand, his hand, through the fabric, pressed on my hand. There was another unbearable gasp, probably the stimulation brought back some of his consciousness, and a hoarse voice blurted out, "Shernyanchu." I stared in a daze at Yao Yi, who was a bit delirious. I was a little shocked. So the name he had been mumbling just now was mine. Even in this state, he could recognize me. But in my previous life, why did Shinsinian make a mistake? Why did he mistake me for someone else? Or was it that in Shinsinian's eyes, I was just someone who could be played with at will? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. So I took a step forward, bent down, and lifted Yao Yi's chin, looking directly at him. I said, "Say it again, who am I?" As soon as my hand touched his skin, I felt a burning heat. When I tried to take it back, Yao Yi held my hand with both of his and gently rubbed his cheek against it. His gaze slid from my lips to my eyes until our eyes met. "Shernyanchu, help me." 5. The rain in midsummer was extremely abundant, lasting most of the night. In the early morning after the rain, there was still a lingering atmosphere. I quietly opened my eyes. The school bully, who was rumored to be able to kick and break 3 of someone's ribs with one kick, was actually so well behaved when asleep. Fortunately, the doctor came quickly last night. I lay on the edge of the bed all night, watching over him while he was getting in 4 drip. Yesterday he should have been poisoned. The result will be known when the blood test report comes out later. Now it's just dawn outside. I stretched my body greatly, pretending not to see the crazily trembling eyelashes of Yao Yi. I turned around and went out, to rest in the room arranged last night. Yesterday I said I would sleep with Song Yi, and the classmates specially gave us a big bedroom. Now the others in the villa haven't woken up yet, and it's quiet everywhere. I, who hadn't slept all night, lay down on the soft big bed and quickly fell asleep. It was not until late in the morning that I was woken up by the monitor's flustered voice. "Choo-choo, wake up quickly, Song Yi is missing." Several girls were gathered around the bed, some worried, some looking forward to the show. "Song Yi is really restless. Why did Choo-choo fall asleep as soon as she got drunk?" She, on the other hand, doesn't know whose bed she's on now. This person was quite sensible. I closed my eyes and pinched myself hard until my eyes were filled with tears. Then I anxiously opened my mouth, my voice with a sobbing tone full of panic. I knew I shouldn't have drunk the wine that Song Yi poured for me last night. My head was dizzy after drinking it. How could she be missing when I woke up? Let's look for her quickly. A group of people searched the entire villa and finally gathered in front of Shinsinian's room, looking at each other. I pushed my glasses and said self-reproachfully, "It's all my fault that I slept so soundly yesterday. What if she came back and entered the wrong room?" A nosy classmate beside me couldn't hold back when he heard this. "Shinsinian was also drunk yesterday. I hope nothing happened to them." Then he slapped the door hard, for fear of not waking up the people inside. However, there was no sound of chaos coming from the room. The door opened from the inside, and I was pushed to the back of the crowd. Shinsinian's tall figure blocked the door. His half-opened shirt revealed a large expanse of his chest. His eyes casually swept over everyone and he slowly said, "What's all the noise about? What could happen?" A bunch of kids, always thinking about nonsense all day long. The classmates who were originally making a ruckus to watch the show suddenly fell silent. Hearing this, I was also stunned. This tone was extremely similar to Shinsinian in my previous life. Could it be that he had also been reborn? "Brother Shin, you're really different after getting laid. You don't even look down on us virgins anymore," someone teased Shinsinian. I also looked up to see Shinsinian's reaction and unexpectedly met his gaze. Shinsinian's hand that was tidying his shirt paused. At this time, I could clearly see the marks on Shinsinian's body, under the half-open shirt, on his collarbone and chest. They were full of glaring scratch marks. Anyone with eyes could tell how intense they were last night. Before I could say anything, Shinsinian spoke first, excitedly questioning me. "Shernyanchu, where were you last night? Why was he lying on my bed? Where were you?" Shinsinian and I had been together day and night for more than 10 years, and he always called me by my name directly, but for Song Yi, it was an affectionate address that came out of his mouth immediately. Sure enough, Shinsinian's confession before I died in my previous life was all fake. I frowned and looked at Shinsinian disappointedly. As soon as he said these words, he convicted me. The classmates also looked at me accordingly. Even after being reborn once, he still believed that it was the 18-year-old me who deliberately framed Song Yi. At this moment, I almost once again experienced the despair of being slandered in my previous life. My whole body began to tremble slightly. The monitor noticed that something was wrong with me and protected me behind him. Shinsinian, we're all adults, why Songyi appeared in your bed, room, probably only she knows. Choo-Choo isn't your child bride in waiting. Why are you getting angry at Choo-Choo? With the monitor's words, the other classmates also reacted. Yeah. The top student was afraid that something would happen to Songyi yesterday and even offered to sleep together to take care of her all night. Who knew how Songyi ended up in your bed? The classmate's words left Shinsinian speechless. He was a bit annoyed. What do you know? Shinsinian reached out to pull me, but I shook him off vigorously. When I looked up again, my eyes were already filled with tears, but Shinsinian didn't see it. He was staring at the red mark on his hand that I had hit, lost in thought. I scolded myself countless times in my heart. I couldn't cry, but I still couldn't help it and felt wronged. Shinsinian, with all the marks on his body, said that he didn't touch Songyi. Who was he trying to deceive, or was he trying to preserve Songyi's good reputation? But why was it always me who got hurt? Why in my previous life, when he mistook me for Songyi, he took me by force, and now, when Songyi was within easy reach for him, he was reluctant to do anything. Was it just because the Shin family adopted me that I was inferior? Shinsinian saw my tear-stained face but remained indifferent. After all, in his 2 lifetimes, he had never said a soft word to me, except for Songyi, who could receive his gentle and considerate treatment. Shinsinian always had a cold look that kept people at a distance from everyone else. Suddenly, a slightly hoarse and sweet female voice broke the stalemate. Sinian, do you not want to be responsible for me? Songyi appeared at the door at some point, with messy clothes and red, swollen eyes. She looked extremely pitiful. Now everyone knew what had happened between them. The scene was chaotic for a while. Songyi looked at Shinsinian pitifully. Before anyone could react, she cried and ran downstairs. Seeing this, Shinsinian subconsciously wanted to chase after her but stopped abruptly, his eyes hesitating as they landed on me. He was making a choice between me and Songyi, wondering which one was more important. Songyi was the white moonlight he couldn't get in his previous life, and I didn't think about it anymore. I wiped away my tears, avoided Shinsinian's outstretched hand, and distanced myself from him. Looking at him with disgust, I said, don't touch me, you're so dirty. You like her, right? I'll fulfill you. 6. I wasn't interested in what exactly was going on between Shinsinian and Songyi. After this farce ended, I quietly returned to Yao Ye's room. However, as soon as I got the blood test report, I was stunned. She actually gave you this kind of drug. This kind of prohibited drug not only made people weak all over but also had very serious after effects. No wonder he disappeared for so long in his previous life. He had gone to seek medical treatment. Fortunately, the doctor came in time yesterday and no irreparable consequences were caused. Yao Yi didn't react much when he heard my shock. He just sat quietly on the bed, staring blankly out of the window. The way he exuded helplessness and despair all over made my heart ache. It was not until Yao Yi, with his ears completely red, looked at me unnaturally that I realized it was very impolite to keep staring at someone like this. But before I could say sorry, Yao Yi spoke first. He reached out and handed me a card. Thank you for yesterday. This is a reward. Can you keep this a secret for me? I looked at the report in confusion. He seemed to be okay, but I still nodded. Okay, but I pushed the card back to Yao Yi somewhat embarrassedly. I always felt that what I was about to say was a bit like taking advantage of the situation. I'll keep it a secret for you. Can you be my boyfriend? Before I finished speaking, Yao Yi almost jumped up from the bed. He widened his bright eyes and pointed at himself in disbelief. You like me? I was a bit flustered. At this time, I really did like him, but he didn't like me, so I quickly waved my hands, for fear that he would misunderstand. No, I want to ask you for help. Pretend to be my boyfriend and help me move out of the Song family. Is that okay? Yao Ye's bright eyes quickly dimmed again, and he mumbled, I knew you wouldn't like me. His voice was so low, and we were so far apart, I was afraid I had misheard. When I asked him what he said that I didn't hear clearly, he quickly returned to normal, leaning against the head of the bed, looking as if he understood everything. Sure. You want to take revenge on Shinsinian through me, right? I looked at Yao Yi. I had prepared a lot of words to persuade him to agree to help me, but I swallowed them all back. I didn't expect him to agree so readily. After all, apart from being high school classmates, we had no other interactions. In high school, Yao Yi and I were 2 extremes in the class, extremely few words and an extreme distance. I was in the first row closest to the podium. And he was in the last row closest to the back door. I couldn't tell when I fell in love with him in my previous life. Perhaps it was when he was late once and happened to meet the teacher praising him for his rapid progress in his studies. On the surface, he didn't care, but when he passed by me, I clearly saw his slightly raised lips and his proud eyebrows and eyes after being praised. For the first time, I thought he was also vivid, not as rebellious as he seemed on the surface, but a good kid who was secretly working hard to study. Maybe I started to be curious about Yao Yi from that time. Every time I smiled, I would subconsciously look at him, then accidentally meet his gaze and then look elsewhere indifferently, lost in the past memories. I was a bit absent-minded. Yao Yi reached out and waved in front of me. "What's wrong with you? Can't you bear to make Shinsinian sad?" I stared in a daze at Yao Yi, who was kneeling on the bed and slightly leaning towards me. There was no past cynicism in his eyes, but full of sincerity. I sighed in my heart. Sure enough, Yao Yi and Shinsinian were sworn enemies. He didn't care whether I liked him or not. He only cared whether Shinsinian would be unhappy. So, I looked up and met the gaze of Yao Yi, who was kneeling on the bed, and replied seriously, "Of course I can bear it, my boyfriend." Nice cooperation. As I said this, I pulled Yao Yi's hand and put the card on it. One should not receive rewards without merit. Now, we were using each other, right? He helped me leave the Shin family, and I helped him annoy Shinsinian, but I didn't expect that the moment Yao Yi met my gaze, he panicked and avoided it. He didn't take the card either. As soon as I touched his hand, Yao Yi was like being electrocuted. He got up from the bed and said randomly, "Since you're my girlfriend now, you have to spend my money. You go and change all the clothes on your body now. Throw away everything related to Shinsinian." I looked down at the clothes on my body. Indeed, it was time to change, so I smiled at Yao Yi, who was looking around randomly but not at me. Okay, I'll listen to my boyfriend, probably because a new life was about to begin. I smiled especially happily this time. Yao Yi seemed to be infected by my happiness and also smiled. At this time, the housekeeper just knocked on the door and came in. I left tactfully. When I closed the door, I heard the housekeeper ask Yao Yi angrily and distressedly, "Master, how are you going to deal with this matter?" I recalled the fate of San Yi in my previous life. I silently closed the door and left. There was nothing to pity. People had to pay the price for their mistakes. I just didn't know if the reborn Shinsinian would plead for San Yi. 7. After returning to the Shin family, I started to avoid Shinsinian, but when I saw this familiar place again, those painful memories from my previous life almost rushed back in an instant. At that time, I was mistaken by Shinsinian and drunk by San Yi. I woke up to know what had happened, but because the person who made the mistake was Shinsinian, I couldn't openly say that I was soiled. I could only scrub myself over and over again in the bathroom, until my whole body was covered with bloodshot marks. I still felt that I wasn't clean, but I had no one to confide in and could only accept it silently. Everyone in the Shin family thought that I should marry Shinsinian. They even considered it a favor to me. No one cared about my thoughts, but after dying once, I realized that the person everyone should please the most was themselves. I'll give you this sentence too. I looked at Shinsinian, who was blocking the door, and said coldly, probably due to his possessiveness, since I wasn't as obedient to him as I was in my previous life, he wasn't used to it. Instead, he was like crazy, trying to find a sense of presence in front of me all day long. I looked at him calmly and expressed my thoughts. "I don't think there's any deep affection between us, and you like San Yi, right? You're willing to use marriage to hold me back for her. Now what kind of deep love are you pretending to have?" When Shinsinian saw that I was being frank, a look of realization flashed in his eyes. He should have guessed that I was also reborn, otherwise, sure Nianchu at this time wouldn't be so cold. Shinsinian stared at me stubbornly. "It was all my fault before. I just wanted to use San Yi to make you jealous. Actually, I don't care at all whether San Yi is happy or not. I helped her because she could hold back Yao Yi. Xiaochu, we grew up together since we were young. We are the most suitable. You said you would only love me in your life and that you would only have children for me. How can you like someone else?" Shinsinian seemed to have a mental problem, talking nonsense. In my previous life, Grandma Shen had always been looking forward to a great-grandson. Unfortunately, before the child was born, Shinsinian and I were hit and killed. After being reborn, he finally remembered our poor baby. I rolled my eyes. I didn't believe a single word he said. I looked at Shinsinian coldly. "We're not kids anymore. There's no need to make it too embarrassing. Grandma is old and can't be frightened. I will move out as soon as possible. Please don't cause me any more trouble." I didn't pay attention to Shen Xinyan's reaction anymore. I turned around and left. As soon as I went downstairs, I saw Grandma Shen, who was full of worry. Choo-choo, did you quarrel with Xinyan? Why don't you get engaged before you go abroad? Grandma will make the decision for you. I quietly withdrew my hand and lowered my head, no longer looking at Grandma Shen. Grandma, I won't go abroad, I have a boyfriend, and, Shen Xinyan, he doesn't like me. After hearing this, Grandma Shen didn't say anything more, just couldn't stop sighing. 8. It was graduation season, and it was not easy to find a house. I had been looking for several days but hadn't found a suitable one. Instead, I ran into Yao Yi on the road. He said he had several vacant houses and told me to choose one to live in without paying rent. I didn't want to owe him, so I still had to pay the rent. Moreover, the scholarship I had in hand was enough for my expenses during this period. On the day when the rental contract was finalized, I treated Yao Yi to a meal. When he sent me back, we happened to meet Shen Xinyan, who had been trying to block me all day long, accompanied by the warm summer breeze. Yao Yi and I were taking a walk to digest food. As soon as we turned a corner, we bumped into Shen Xinyan, who was waiting at the entrance of the villa. He was leaning against the wall of the gate, and the dim street lamp couldn't clearly illuminate the expression on his face, but it was clear that his gaze fixed on me was almost blazing with anger. Shen Yanchu, stay away from him. Shen Xinyan's disgusting possessiveness was acting up again. He walked quickly towards us and reached out to pull me. However, he was blocked by Yao Yi's tall figure. Since I was a child, I had been afraid of an angry Shen Xinyan, and subconsciously, I grabbed Yao Yi's sleeve. Yao Yi visibly stiffened for a moment, but the next moment, he firmly held my hand in return. He gently shook it, indicating that I shouldn't be afraid. Beside Yao Yi, I looked up at him. For the first time, I felt what it was like to be protected. It was an indescribable sense of peace of mind. I was a bit greedy and leaned closer to Yao Yi. Apparently, my actions infuriated Shen Xinyan. He strode forward to pull Yao Yi's hand away. As a result, he was pushed away by Yao Yi. Brother-in-law, I'm sending my girlfriend home. Do you have to interfere with this? Shen Xinyan was so angry at Yao Yi's words that his eyes seemed about to split. He seemed to have forgotten that I was no longer his wife. We had both been reborn, and now I was just Shen Xinyan's stepsister with no blood relation. I hid behind Yao Yi and secretly gave him a thumbs up. Good guy. He got into the role instantly in front of the enemy. Shen Xinyan was so angry that he raised his hand to hit someone. He was stopped by Aunt Shen, who came out to look for him. She calmly sized up Yao Yi and me and said to me indifferently, Xiaochu, there are guests at home today. Ask your classmate to come to play another time. Shen Xinyan's mother had always looked down on me, especially after that chaotic night between me and Shen Xinyan in my previous life. She even more believed that I was coveting wealth and deliberately scheming against Shen Xinyan just to marry into the Shen family. After being reborn, when I saw the contemptuous look in Shen Xinyan's mother's eyes again, I didn't know where I got the courage from. In front of her, I affectionately hugged Yao Yi's arm and said coyly, Auntie, this is my boyfriend. Since there are guests at home, why don't I come back later? After saying that, I made a show of being inseparable from Yao Yi, reluctant to part. Whether in my previous life or this life, I never liked Shen Xinyan, and I was not at all eager for the position of the Shen family's daughter-in-law. Shen Xinyan's mother clearly didn't expect me to be so bold. Surprise flashed across her face, but she quickly returned to normal. She became the arrogant noblewoman again. Only the punching bag changed from me to Shen Xinyan. She glared at Shen Xinyan, quite disappointed with him. Useless thing, come in with me. After saying that, she dragged Shen Xinyan back. Seeing that I didn't follow, her steps paused for a moment, and she slightly turned her head, saying in a flat tone, Xiaochu, come too, this matter concerns you too. I patted Yao Yi's hand holding mine, indicating that he could let go, but he was a bit worried and whispered in my ear, I'm not relieved, I'll wait for you at the door for a while. Call me if there's anything. I nodded obediently and followed back to the Shen family, but I didn't expect that as soon as I entered the door, I saw an unexpected person. 9. Grandma Shen always went to bed early. However, it was already 10 o'clock today, and she was still sitting on the Grand Master chair with a worried look on her face. I wondered what kind of guests could alarm Grandma Shen. Shen Xinyan and I entered one after another, and Grandma Shen let out a long sigh. Alas, Xinyan, what you've done has completely shamed our Shen family. I silently looked at the guest sitting on the sofa, with a fearless look on her face. I also sighed in my heart, man proposes, God disposes. The person who had disappeared for so long had now come back on her own. The day after the dinner, Song Yi disappeared after crying and leaving. After more than a month, Song Yi appeared again now. Her disdainful eyes passed over me and landed on Shin Sinian. She touched her belly and said pitifully, "Sinian, I'm pregnant. Aren't you going to take responsibility for me yet?" As soon as these words were spoken, Grandma Shin sighed continuously. Shin Sinian also frowned tightly. Probably he didn't expect that the white moonlight he couldn't get in his previous life, after being reborn, would stick to him like a leech, taking the initiative to pester him. I didn't understand. This was clearly what Shin Sinian had always wanted. Why did he look so gloomy now? I lowered my head and remained silent. Hiding beside Grandma Shin, Song Yi was now heavily made up and looked tough, and it was hard to tell that she was the same age as us. I had to say that she had the means to deceive everyone in her previous life. Obviously, Song Yi's parents were also present. Although her parents looked a bit honest and timid, she bypassed her parents and talked to the elders of the Shin family by herself. Her attitude was clear: either get engaged to Shin Sinian now and secure the position of Mrs. Shin in the future, or she had to be given an exorbitant hush money. Once she got the money, she would abort the child. Otherwise, she would make the matter public and completely shame the Shin family. When Grandma Shin heard her say she wanted to abort the child, she wished they could get married right away. But when she saw me standing beside her, Grandma Shin hesitated again. At this time, Shin Sinian's mother couldn't sit still. In my previous life, she had never liked me no matter what. Now I had become the well-behaved and obedient daughter-in-law in her eyes. Xiaochu is the daughter-in-law I had my eye on a long time ago. What are you? Who knows how you got pregnant? If you want money, go for an amniocentesis and do a paternity test. The children of our Shin family will definitely not be left outside, but you, don't even think about entering the door of our Shin family. Shin Sinian's mother became more and more excited as she spoke, and the scene suddenly became chaotic. Grandma Shin shook her head and sighed, stopping Shin Sinian's mother, saying that there was something to discuss and asking us two to go upstairs. "Sinian, you wait downstairs, pour water for uncle and aunt. Don't lose your manners." I didn't know what Grandma Shin was going to say and just followed her upstairs with my head down. At this time, Shin Sinian's mother seemed to suddenly discover my goodness. She took my hand, looking affectionate, until we entered the study with Grandma Shin. Shin Sinian's mother was still repeating, "Xiaochu, Auntie only recognizes you as her daughter-in-law. You grew up in front of Auntie's eyes. You're so cute and sensible. Auntie loves you the most. You mustn't be deceived by outsiders. That boy just now, he looks hard to control at first glance. How can he be as steady as your brother Sinian? Xiaochu, be obedient and go abroad with Sinian at ease. When you come back, Auntie will definitely hold a grand wedding for you." Aunt Shin's words were interrupted by the sound of Grandma Shin's cane hitting the ground. Grandma Shin looked extremely tired. She sat in front of the desk and looked at me as if she didn't know how to start. I withdrew my hand from Aunt Shin's and said to Grandma Shin, "Grandma, brother Sinian doesn't like me, and I never thought of marrying him. Moreover, the classmates at school all know that the girl he likes is the one who came downstairs. Auntie, the Shin family has raised me so well, I can't bite the hand that feeds me. I'll leave tonight and make way for the person downstairs. Grandma, I've grown up and can take care of myself." After I finished speaking, tears welled up in Grandma Shin's eyes. She had raised me as her own granddaughter. Before, she often said that when I grew up, I should marry Shin Sinian so that I wouldn't be bullied after getting married. Grandma Shin was really kind to me. Now that such a thing had happened to Shin Sinian, Grandma Shin wouldn't force me. But Shin Sinian's mother might not be the same. She couldn't stand her son being rejected. Her finger with bright red nail polish poked my forehead one by one, scolding me for being ungrateful. "That's enough." The teacup was smashed at Shin Sinian's mother's feet. Grandma Shin shouted angrily. Then she took out a document from the safe and asked me to go over and take it. "Xiaochu, this is the shares left to you by your biological parents. I originally wanted to give it to you when you got married as a dowry, but now that you're grown up, it's better to let you keep it yourself." I stared blankly at Grandma Shin. My parents had actually left me something. I was actually loved by someone. I took the slightly thick document with trembling hands, and my eyes were misty. In my previous life, until I died miserably, I had never heard of this inheritance left by my biological parents. In this new life, there was actually an unexpected surprise. When Shin Sinian's mother saw that I had accepted it, she still tried to stop me. "Mom, why did you really give it to her? I ignored her and tried my best to control my trembling hands and flipped through the document. My parents had actually left me a considerable inheritance. No wonder I had never heard of this in my previous life. I'm afraid it had all been embezzled by Shinsenyan's mother. I carefully held the document in my arms and bowed to Grandma Shin. Grandma, thank you for your kindness in raising me all these years. I will take care of myself in the future. I'll move out tonight. I'll come back to see you when I'm free. After saying that, I turned around and left to get my documents from my room. When I went downstairs, Shinsenyan saw me carrying my bag and about to leave. He reached out to stop me. His eyes were unfathomable, and I didn't know what he was thinking. Where are you going? It's none of your business. I looked at the small bag in my hand and smiled self-deprecatingly. I had lived in the Shin family for more than 10 years. When I was leaving, the things that belonged to me were actually only so little. Sangyi couldn't stand Shinsenyan and me lingering. From a distance, she put on the airs of a hostess. Yo, you're leaving. Don't come back often in the future. I ignored her. I shook off Shinsenyan's hand, patted the place he had touched in disgust, and said sarcastically, Shinsenyan, you've always wanted a child, right? Look, someone is going to give birth to one for you. 10. As soon as I went out, I saw Yao Yi waiting at the door. He naturally took the bag in my hand and gently wiped away the tears on my face. His fingers with body temperature landed on my forehead, where Shinsenyan's mother had poked me with her hand. He carefully looked at me, his eyes full of worry. Are you okay? I gave him a big smile in return. Yao Yi, I'm free. At this moment, I truly felt that my future life was bright. Thank you, Yao Yi. You don't have to pretend to be my boyfriend anymore. From now on, you're my landlord. May I ask, landlord, can I move in tonight? As I spoke, I walked forward happily, not noticing Yao Yi's gradually slowing pace at all. It was not until the boy's slightly disappointed voice came from behind that I noticed Yao Yi had stopped there. Ah, you're welcome. But I don't want to break up. I didn't quite understand. This wasn't really a breakup, was it? We hadn't really dated in the first place. Yao Yi's tall figure looked a bit lonely under the illumination of the street lamp. I walked over and tugged at his arm. Come on, I still don't have a place to live tonight. Feeling that Yao Yi was a bit reluctant, I also felt that I really seemed to be using people and then discarding them, so I took the initiative to reflect on myself. I really didn't help you annoy Shinsenyan. I think it's probably useless for you to take revenge on Shinsenyan through me. He doesn't like me at all. My voice got smaller and smaller as I spoke. The remaining half-sentence that I didn't say was, and you don't like me either. It's better to end it as soon as possible. Before I could finish speaking, Yao Yi blurted out a sentence. He likes you. I also. Yao Yi suddenly stopped speaking halfway through, which was really tantalizing. What did you say? I didn't hear clearly. At this time, Yao Yi suddenly quickened his pace and walked in front of me. Then he slowly said, I also think you're right. Shinsenyan doesn't deserve you. I trotted a few steps to catch up with him. As a reward, sometime later, I'll show you a big show. It will definitely satisfy you. If Shinsenyan can have an easy time, my surname will be yours. Yao Yi stopped, turned around to look at me, and said word by word, okay, I'll listen to you. The seriousness in Yao Yi's eyes made me a bit scared. It seemed that he was especially looking forward to that day. 11. Fortunately, someone was looking forward to that day more than me. Sangyi's pregnancy couldn't wait. Grandma Shin directly set the wedding date. However, on the wedding day, Shinsenyan actually fled the wedding. No one knew where he had gone. Sangyi in the backstage of the wedding was so angry that she smashed the dressing room. But no matter how angry she was, she had to endure it. She had planned so much just to find a good background for the child in her womb. That's why on the night of the dinner, she said that either Yao Yi or Shinsenyan would do. In her previous life, during the 10 years when Sangyi disappeared, she didn't marry Yao Yi smoothly as the rumors said. Instead, she was sentenced to 10 years in prison for poisoning Yao Yi and extortion. Originally, since Sangyi was pregnant, she could have received a lighter sentence. But she drank too much wine on the night of the dinner and didn't pay attention at all during her pregnancy. This led to the deformity of the fetus, and she had a miscarriage early. Thinking about it now, it was probably during this period of time. At the wedding scene, the groom didn't show up, and it was in a noisy mess. Shinsenyan's mother was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. Sangyi, on the other hand, was comforting her while covering her stomach. However, they couldn't get in touch with Shinsenyan no matter what. Yao Yi and I looked at each other and smiled, quietly waiting for Shinsenyan to appear. Shinsenyan was extremely conceited, and he would definitely come back. Song Yi had calculated him and played him for a fool. I'm afraid Shinshinian even had the thought of killing her. He regarded such a person as his white moonlight. He probably regretted it to the core. The stage was all set up, and it was really a pity that the male protagonist wasn't there. At this moment, I received a message. It was the news that Shinshinian had come out of the hospital. The cleaning auntie in the hospital had, as I instructed, accidentally let Shinshinian see Song Yi's test report. Coincidentally, when Yao Yi asked me to accompany him for a follow-up examination, we unexpectedly saw that Song Yi was also there. The way she was hiding and covering up clearly indicated that something was fishy. She was so afraid that others would see the test report in her hand that she threw it away as soon as she went out. After she left, I picked it up. It showed that Song Yi was 3 months pregnant. However, from the day of the graduation dinner until now, it had been less than 2 months. In addition, during the months before graduation, Shinshinian had been abroad taking the IELTS exam and wasn't at school at all. No matter how you calculated it, this child wasn't his. I put down my phone and calmly looked at the entrance of the hall. Sure enough, Shinshinian, with a gloomy face, came. Song Yi took the initiative to greet him and, pretending to be concerned, wiped the sweat off Shinshinian's face with her own hands, but Shinshinian pushed her away and coldly questioned her. Don't you have anything to say? Song Yi was embarrassed in front of so many people by Shinshinian. An embarrassed look flashed across her face. But she quickly looked on the verge of tears. With tears in her eyes, she was full of grievances. Sinian, today is our wedding day. It's fine that you didn't go to pick up the bride. You were so late and made me wait for you with a big belly. Don't you have anything to say? Shinshinian's face was extremely disapproving, and the veins on his forehead popped out. Yes, you, and that bastard in your belly, get out of here. Then he picked up the microphone and tapped it twice. Song Yi sensed something was wrong and desperately tried to snatch the microphone from Shinshinian. As a result, she was pushed away violently by Shinshinian and crashed into the pillar of the hall. Without even looking at her, Shinshinian directly announced in public, "The wedding is cancelled." Song Yi sat alone on the ground, and it took her a long time to come to her senses. Regardless of her dizziness, as soon as she stood up, she started tugging at Shinshinian. She had planned this for so long, and it was on the verge of success. She couldn't accept Shinshinian's sudden change of attitude. However, as if suddenly awakened, she suddenly walked up to me and questioned me. "Sure Nianchu, what exactly did I do to sorry you? Why are you framing me? Do you really can't stand to see me happy?" Song Yi was so emotional that she started grabbing my shoulders again. Yao Yi wanted to help me pull Song Yi away, but I stopped him with a look. Shinshinian also came over and pulled her. Song Yi didn't dare to say anything to Shinshinian, so she took out all her anger on me. "I even blocked the wine for you back then. You can't break me and Sinian apart." Before she could finish speaking, I waved her arm away. I raised my hand to slap her. Song Yi instinctively tried to dodge, and then I remembered not to hit a pregnant woman, so I turned my head and slapped Shinshinian twice. Shinshinian was stunned by my slaps and stood there holding his face in a daze. He still dared to speak. I changed my hand and slapped him twice more. At this time, Shinshinian's mother squeezed over. "Xiaochu, what about me? I had been waiting for this day for a long time. I don't hit women, and I don't hit elders. Can't I hit Shinshinian? Every time misses." Shin said a word. I slapped Shinshinian once. "Do you have anything else to say?" I was a bit tired from slapping. While these people hadn't reacted yet, I suddenly took a step back and retreated to a safe distance. Soon, the whole scene was in chaos. Song Yi unfortunately had a miscarriage during the argument with Shinshinian, and Shinshinian was taken away by the police. Shinshinian was also involved in the incident of Yao Yi being drugged. This wedding finally ended in absurdity. The next moment, we were both hit and sent flying by a car. I heard that before she fully recovered. She couldn't wait to go to the Shin family to demand an exorbitant compensation. As a result, just like in her previous life, Song Yi still couldn't escape the charge of extortion. She was also severely scolded by Shinshinian, who met her on the street. He said that she was too ambitious but had a poor fate, and she had schemed so much but ended up getting nothing in the end. Song Yi, who was mocked, completely lost her mind and directly drove into Shinshinian. In the end, the two of them perished together. After I found out, I couldn't help but sigh. Shinshinian had lived 2 lifetimes but still couldn't escape the ending of being hit and killed. Perhaps this was his fate. Everything was his own choice, and no matter what the consequences were, he had to bear them himself.